Shuemo spat out another mouthful of poisonous mist at Yunchujio as he spoke. Although his strength was extremely heaven-defying in the past, he had been suppressed for so many years and had just awakened. His strength was less than 1/100th of his previous strength. He could only rely on the poisonous mist to win. If Shuemo's strength was not greatly reduced now, he would not have failed to notice that there were many people hiding in the bushes in the distance. Shuemo had thought that Yunchujio would definitely become more stiff after the poisonous mist was sprayed out. Who would have thought that Yunchujio would not only not slow down, but become more active instead? Hey, you old bat, you still call yourself a Shuemo? I see that you are just a smelly bat who does not dare to see others. How can someone like you be called a demon? You are really shameless. If all demons are as cowardly as you, why don't you just change your name to Bastard Demon? Look at you, you're simply brainless. What kind of place is this? This is the place where the Heaven Punisher Divine Axe was born. You, an old bat, actually dared to behave atrociously here. I think you've had enough of living. Shuemo's aura kept howling. When had it ever been cursed like this? Even the person who had subdued it had never belittled it like this. However, it was just too weak now. Even after a long time, it was still unable to restrain Yunchujio. Shuemo glared at Zhu Jingtai at the side. You piece of trash. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and help me catch this smelly girl. Zhu Jingtai, if you dare to help the old bat, I'll kill you, Yunchujio said fiercely. Zhu Jingtai couldn't help but shiver, but when he remembered the matter of kneeling to Yunchujio, he felt disgusted and said with a sinister smile, Bitch. You can't even protect yourself and you still dare to threaten me? Die. Yunchujio sneered. She was really courting death. It would be a waste if she didn't kill him today. Yunchujio had already probed the depth of Shuemo, so there was no need to hide it. She whistled and the people who were lying in ambush rushed over. Shuemo was shocked. How was this possible? How did all these people escape? No wonder he felt that someone had touched the array formation. It was them. Zhu Jingtai almost collapsed to the ground. He knew that these people would not spare him, especially after he drank the blood of one of them. It was over. He could only hope that these people were not Shuemo's match. Otherwise, there was no way for him to survive. However, when he saw that those people had the same thing on their faces as Yunchujio, his heart turned cold. It was because of this mask that Yunchujio was not afraid of Shuemo's poisonous fog. Those people probably were not afraid of Shuemo's poisonous fog either. Those students followed Yunchujio's instructions and began to attack Shuemo with their spiritual power. Some students hated that Zhu Jingtai was in cahoots with Shuemo, so some directly attacked Shuemo with their spiritual power. Yunchujio had already jumped to the side and attacked Shuemo with the others. At this time, the sun had already risen from the east and Shuemo's figure became a little faint. Shuemo was in a hurry to get away and rushed to the students in front of it, spitting out poisonous fog as it rushed. Stop it. It's already at the end of its flight. If we let it escape, there will be endless trouble in the future. Yunchujio hurriedly shouted to the others. Those students might have been caught by the Shuemo previously, so they had a shadow. Therefore, even though they heard Yunchujio's shout, they knew what to do. However, they could not help but avoid it. Yunchujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She could only let the little black bird curse. She was trying her best. The little black bird had cursed humans and demonic beasts before. However, this was the first time it had cursed a demon. She did not know whether it would be useful or not. Xiaohania wasn't sure either. Shuemo wasn't like a human or a demon beast that was steady on the ground. Would it work? Xiaohania didn't care and started to curse. Shuemo saw that everyone made a gap and ran towards it happily. At this moment, it felt its body leaning forward involuntarily. Although its body wasn't solid, it slowed down when it leaned forward. Seeing this, Yunchujio shot out several bolts of lightning at it. However, these bolts of lightning contained the small flame of the 10,000-year-old fire marrow. Yunchujio had never thought about the small flame. She did not expect that the small flame would take the initiative to attack this time. Although Shuemo had sensed Yunchujio's sneak attack from behind, it did not pay much attention to it. This little ant's strength was still very weak, so its damage was limited. The reason why it was in a hurry to escape was not because it was afraid of the students of Xingtian Academy, but because it was afraid of the sun in the sky. Thinking of this, Shuemo did not dodge at all. Instead, it prepared to continue running forward. Otherwise, as time passed, the stronger the sun's rays were, the greater the damage it would suffer. Therefore Yunchujia's lightning bolts and the small flame hidden within them struck Shuemo's back. Shuemo let out a shrill scream. Just like how it was afraid of Yunchujia's lightning bolts, the 10,000-year-old fire marrow was also an extremely masculine and young item. Shuemo's figure was instantly burned by the small flame, leaving a hole in it. Yunchujia's eyes lit up. Oh, the small flame was really something. Yunchujio shouted at the crowd, "Fire spirit root, attack it together. Since it's afraid of the sun, it must be afraid of fire." The reason why Yunchujio shouted like that was because, firstly, she felt that Shuemo was afraid of fire. Secondly, it was to hide the existence of small flames. After all, if the crowd could not see through it once, there would be a flaw if they used it a few more times. Those students were upset about their cowardice just now. When they heard Yunchujio's words, the fire spirit root students immediately began to attack Shuemo. If they were not fire spirit root students, they might as well take out a fire fuse or firestone to light something and throw it at Shuemo. The crowd picked up firewood and the flames were high. What if it was useful? Shuemo screamed miserably as he was burned. Several holes were burned on his body, and his figure became fainter and fainter. Just when everyone thought that they could burn him to death, Shuemo summoned several pieces of the shell of the godly axe. Those pieces formed a stone egg and Shuemo's body turned into a wisp of red smoke and drilled into it. Everyone was stunned at first and then they continued to use fire to attack. Yunchujio also used lightning with a small flame, but the stone egg was extremely hard. There was not even a single crack. Everyone was dumbfounded. Everyone used axes to chop and fire to burn. They used all the methods they could, but they still could not break the stone egg. Even though they knew that Shuemo was hidden inside the stone egg, they still could not break it. Could it be that they could only let it go? Someone tried to activate the jade token, but it still did not work. It seemed that they had to kill this Shuemo before they could get out. Yunchujio frowned. It was daytime now and they could still use the sun to control the Shuemo. If it was nighttime, the Shuemo would definitely counterattack. At that time all their efforts would be for naught. Since no one could open the stone egg, they vented their anger on Zhu Jingtai and beat him to death. Yunchujio did not have the time to care about his life and death. All her attention was on the stone egg. How could she open the stone egg? Yunchujio tried to use the small needle of spiritual power, but unfortunately the small needle of spiritual power could not penetrate the stone egg at all. In fact, the stone egg was made of the shell of the Heaven Punisher divine axe, so it was naturally extremely hard. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already evening. In less than 2 hours the sun would set. What Yunchujio thought of, everyone also thought of. Once the sun set, Shuemo would definitely make a comeback. What should they do? Yunchujio, why don't we bury this stone egg? Bury it deep? The student said. Yunchujio was speechless. Could she be any more stupid? Shuemo didn't have a physical body, so what was the point of burying it deep? Yunchujio, why don't we throw this stone egg far away? As long as it can't find us before dawn, we won't be afraid of it. Yunchujio felt that this idea was alright, but it was probably too late now. According to their speed, Shuemo could catch up to them in 2 hours. Moreover, this was a way to treat the symptoms but not the root of the problem. Even if they could avoid Shuemo, they would not be able to avoid him. When Yunchujio told them her idea, everyone immediately felt discouraged. This was not going to work either. Could it be that they could only wait for Shuemo to counterattack? Yunchujio was also very angry. She looked at Shurdan on the ground and scolded, "No matter what, you used to be the shell of the Heaven Punisher divine axe. How can you protect a demon? Are you stupid?" Yunchujio was also desperate. It was unlikely that this piece of stone would have sentience. If it had sentience, it would not have been controlled by Shuemo. She was just venting her anger. The more Yunchujio thought about it, the angrier she got. She kicked the stone egg. Perhaps she used too much strength, but she actually kicked the stone egg onto the stone wall. Then this guy sadly discovered that 2/3 of the stone egg was embedded in the stone wall. She wanted to pull the stone egg out, but no matter how hard she tried, she could not pull it out. This fellow stomped her feet in anger and subconsciously took out a large kitchen knife and slashed at the stone egg. The knife slashed down, and this fellow also regretted it. Although this large kitchen knife had been stolen from the Ling Hua sect's large kitchen, it had followed her for several years. Not only had it chopped firewood and cut demon beast meat, but it had also helped her extort quite a number of spirit stones with this slash. This large kitchen knife was probably going to be crippled. However, because she was too angry, she used too much strength and it was already too late for her to withdraw her hand. All of this happened in the midst of sparks. Yun Chujio only heard a clear clang sound, and the stone egg was actually cut into two halves. The stone egg once again turned into pieces and Shuemo jumped out from within. The large kitchen knife in Yun Chujio's hand had slipped out of her hand because she used too much strength, and with a clang, it fell to the ground. At this moment, Shuemo was dumbfounded. It thought that it was safe to hide in the stone egg. When it came out at night, it would be able to take revenge. Who would have thought that the stone egg was broken? How could it be broken? It was obviously not a good time to consider this question. It grabbed Yun Chujio's neck. Yun Chujio was too surprised because of the broken eggshell, so she did not have time to react. Being ambushed by Shuemo, one could imagine the frustration in her heart. Jie, you stinky girl. I've never suffered such a huge loss before. However, as long as I drink your blood, my cultivation will recover a lot. The heavens don't want me to die. Shuemo shouted excitedly. Yun Chujio was strangled and couldn't speak at all. She could only keep flailing around like a chick being strangled. Everyone was stunned. No one had expected such a turn of events. What should they do now? Zhai Shanshan shouted, let's use fire to attack. We have to kill Shuemo first. Otherwise, when the sun sets, we will be dead. When Jinji heard what Zhai Shanshan said, she roared angrily, Little Jiu is still in its hands. If it uses fire to attack, what will Little Jiu do? Zhai Shanshan snorted coldly. This is something that cannot be helped. Do you want everyone to be buried with her? Jinji was trembling with anger. You are simply ungrateful. If it was not for Little Jiu, would you have escaped from the cave? Now you actually want to repay kindness with hatred. You are simply inhuman. 1 yard is 1 yard. I'm naturally grateful that she saved me, but now she can't be the cause of all of us being buried together, right? Don't you agree? Zhai Shanshan turned to ask the other students. Everyone's reactions were different. Although some did not say anything, they were already prepared to attack. It was obvious that they agreed with Zhai Shanshan's idea. Some people looked like they were struggling. It was obvious that they did not know if they were protecting their lives against their conscience or sticking to their morals. Some of them looked disapproving. They clearly felt that Zhai Shanshan's actions were no different from Zhu Jingtai's. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was being strangled by Shuemo. She actually had the leisure to record the performance of these people in the Black Book. It had to be said that this fellow's heart was big enough. This fellow knew that in order to recover her power, Shuemo would not kill her. It would feed her slowly and drink her blood. However, how could he escape? He could not really be killed by his own people, right? Shuemo heard what Zhai Shanshan said. He could not help but laugh strangely. Jia, I told you that humans are the most selfish and despicable species. You see, it's true, right? Stupid girl, what's the use of you saving them? In the end, don't they still have to sacrifice you? Some people could not help but look ashamed when they heard Shuemo's words. Yes, if they really sacrificed Yun Chujio, then what was the difference between them and a demon? Those who were initially hesitant upon hearing Shuemo's words became firm in their beliefs and stood on Jinji's side. Zhai Shanshan was afraid that the more time passed, the bigger the change would be. She said to those who agreed with her, what are all of you still standing there for? Hurry up and use fire to attack Shuemo. Shuewuji, Jinji, and the others naturally would not let them do that. They blocked the way in front of them, and the situation was in a stalemate for a moment. Shuemo lowered his head and wanted to bite Yun Chujio's neck. No matter what, he wanted to drink some blood to replenish his strength. Just as Shuemo's mouth was about to touch Yun Chujio's neck, the large kitchen knife suddenly flew up from the ground and slashed at Shuemo. Shuemo felt the wind behind him and he flicked his sleeve carelessly. He thought that he would definitely be able to deflect the large kitchen knife, but he did not expect that the moment the large kitchen knife hit his body, an intense tearing pain came from his body. It was even more painful than being burned by a small flame. Shuemo suddenly trembled and he even let go of Yun Chujio's hand. He recalled the days when he was suppressed by the Heaven Punisher divine axe. Could it be? No, it was impossible. Shuemo did not continue to think because the kitchen knife seemed to have gone mad as it continued to hit his body. Wherever the kitchen knife slashed, Shuemo's body instantly turned into nothingness. Yun Chujio coughed for a while, and the small flame in her hand also hacked towards Shuemo. Damn it. It almost turned into its melodious beauty, burning you to death. The students of Xingtian Academy also reacted and began to fire at Shuemo. All kinds of fire-type attacks smashed towards Shuemo. Finally, Shuemo's body completely disappeared. The large kitchen knife fell to the ground with a clang, as if everything before was just an illusion. Someone tried to activate the jade token and was actually teleported out. Zhai Shanshan and the others could not wait to activate the jade token, afraid that Yun Chujie would seek revenge on them. Yun Chujie was not too anxious. It was obvious that the Shuemo had already dissipated. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, it would not cause any harm to them for a while. This fellow picked up the large kitchen knife and took a look. The large kitchen knife could actually split open the stone eggs and even kill the Shuemo. Could it be the Xingtian godly axe? Yun Chujie shook her head. Couldn't be, right? Putting aside its appearance, this big kitchen knife was found in the Qingxian continent. How could the Heaven Punisher axe have come to the Qingxian continent? Yun Chujie couldn't figure it out for a moment, so she simply put away the big kitchen knife. Then she very naturally put away the large pile of axe shell fragments on the ground into her storage ring. Although everyone saw it, they felt that Yun Chujie deserved it, so no one said anything. On the contrary, everyone thanked Yun Chujie for saving them. Yun Chujie saw that the rest of them had different opinions from Zhai Shanshan and the others, so she smiled and said to everyone, "I saved you once and you saved me just now. Let's call it even." Everyone was not stupid. They knew that Yun Chujie said this to make them feel better, and they felt even more grateful. They felt that the contempt they had for Yun Chujie in the past was extremely stupid. If it were not for Yun Chujie this time, they would definitely have died in this sinkhole. Yun Chujie was their savior. Yun Chujie saw that there was nothing else and the sky was getting dark. She said to everyone, "Let's leave this place too. Otherwise, Zhai Shanshan and the others might change the truth. Li Huan, take Xu Jingtai's body with you. Don't let others make a fuss over his death." Li Huan nodded. He put Xu Jingtai's body into his storage ring as Yun Chujie said. Everyone activated their jade tokens and were teleported out. However, Yun Chujie and the other two strangely realized that while everyone else was out, the three of them were actually left behind. Fuck. They must have been tricked. If I find out who is behind this, I'll kill him. Yun Chujie was so angry that she threw her head back and roared. On the other side, after the Xingtian Academy students were sent out, they heard that Zhai Shanshan and the others were twisting black and white, and they immediately retorted angrily. The divine axe square was already in a mess. Zhai Shanshan and the others had made up a story, and the students who came out later on made up another story. For a time, the teachers of Xingtian Academy were all confused. Shuemo. There was actually a Shuemo imprisoned in the divine axe crater. However, even though Zhai Shanshan and the others had twisted the truth, what kind of people were Din Gongsun and the others? How could they not be able to tell the truth from the lies? Very quickly, the lies of Zhai Shanshan and the others were exposed. They were ordered to take care of them first before they were dealt with according to the rules of the academy. At this moment, someone exclaimed, "Yun Chujie and the other two actually did not come out. What should we do?" At this moment, everyone realized that there was really no trace of Yun Chujie and the other two. What was going on? Din Gongsun frowned. Putting aside the fact that Yun Chujie was now the direct daughter of the Yi family, just because she saved everyone, she couldn't just stand by and watch as something happened to her. "Teacher Pang, bring some people into the sinkhole and save them." Teacher Pang immediately ordered a few people to enter the teleportation array. He never expected that the teleportation array would explode with a bang. A thought appeared in everyone's mind. It was over. Yun Chujie and the other two would never be able to come out again. What's going on? This teleportation array is an ancient array formation. Why did it suddenly explode? The crowd was in an uproar. This ancient array formation was not something that could be repaired just like that. Without 3 to 5 years of time, it would not be able to be repaired. Moreover, it might not be able to be repaired at all. Yun Chujie and the other two might never be able to come out again. The first-grade students pleaded one after another, "Dean, you must think of a way. If it wasn't for Yun Chujie and the other two, we would have died inside." "That's right, Dean, quickly find someone to repair the teleportation array formation. Although that Shuemo has dissipated, he might not be dead yet. If we delay any longer, Yun Chujie and the others might lose their lives." Din Gongsun gestured for everyone to calm down. "Go back and wait for the news. We will think of a way to rescue Yun Chujie and the others." The students knew that it was useless for them to stay here, so they left the Divine Axe Plaza worriedly. Dean Gongsun immediately got his teacher, who was proficient in array formations, to check the teleportation array. Soon an old man with a slight hunchback gave Dean Gongsun a look. Dean Gongsun understood and the two of them went to Dean Gongsun's study. Dean, according to common sense, this teleportation array is an ancient array formation and is very difficult to destroy. But this time it seems to be the self-destruction of the array formation, but I found this. The hunchbacked old man handed Dean Gongsun a small piece of charred fragment. Dean Gongsun took it and looked at it, then said in puzzlement, "Array leaf? The array formation has been destroyed. Isn't it normal to have fragments of array leaves? Although this array leaf is also drawn with ancient runes, the material of this array leaf is different from the original array leaf. Clearly, someone has tampered with the teleportation array." A fierce look flashed through the hunchbacked old man's eyes. He actually dared to tamper with the ancient teleportation array. What audacity! Dean Gongsun was both angry and angry. He frowned and asked, "Elder Zhuang, I still have one more question. The teleportation array is under the Divine Axe statue. This Divine Axe statue requires the combined efforts of me and the 5 vice principals to move it. How did that person do it?" The hunchbacked elder shook his head. "I am also puzzled. Perhaps he tampered with it after the students entered. Furthermore, that person is clearly extremely proficient in ancient runes. He is probably even more proficient than me in ancient runes. I wonder what that person is hiding in the Sky Punisher Academy for. Elder Zhuang, let's keep this matter a secret for the time being to avoid alerting the enemy. How long will it take for the teleportation array to be repaired?" Dean Gongsun's expression turned even colder. If this matter was said to be a plot against Yun Chujio and the other two, then if it was said to be a big matter, then that person must have some ulterior motive. Elder Zhuang sighed. The array disk that person placed was extremely powerful, destroying almost half of the teleportation array. We don't know much about ancient runes. Is the repair too big? I'm afraid that it would take at least 10 years to completely repair it. Dean Gongsun also sighed. It seemed that the beloved son of Tian Dao that he had mentioned earlier was indeed not to be trusted. If that Yun Chujio was really the beloved son of Tian Dao, she would not have suffered such a disaster. Although the lifespan of a cultivator was very long, 10 years could change many things. Moreover, the situation inside was unknown, and it was hard to say if she would be able to keep her little life. Elder Zhuang, take some people and start repairing the teleportation array. As for the matter of someone sabotaging it, don't mention it again. Just say that it might be an explosion caused by the teleportation array being in disrepair for a long time. I will arrange for people to secretly investigate. After Elder Zhuang agreed, he got up and left the study. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Dean Gongsun sighed. After such a big incident, he could only personally make a trip to the Yi family. On the same day, Dean Gongsun set out to the Yi family. Old Master Yi heard a servant report that Dean Gongsun was here and was very puzzled. Why was this old thing here? Could it be that something had happened to little Nine? When Old Master Yi saw Dean Gongsun's expression, he had an ominous premonition in his heart. Did something happen to little Jiao? Dean Gongsun let out a long sigh and recounted what had happened. He did not hide the fact that he had discovered the array leaf. Old friend, don't worry. I will definitely give your Yi family an explanation. Moreover, Yun Chujio is blessed with great fortune. She will definitely return safely in the future. Dean Gongsun felt his conscience ache when he said these words. 10 years. He had wasted such a good time. Moreover, what if she did not come out? Old Master Yi sat on the chair without saying a word for a long time. Was this great-granddaughter recognizing him back to test this old heart of his? It had only been more than a month since he had recognized her, yet so many things had actually happened. Although Yun Chujio was a little arrogant in the academy, she still did not have the ability to make such a big move to harm her. Old friend, do you have any suspects? Great-grandfather, yes. Pupils constricted. He recalled the matter that Yi Bingyu had sent back the last time. Could it be that it was Gushi or Lu Shi who was behind this again? Although great-grandfather Yi had doubts in his heart, he could not expose his family's dirty laundry. He could only say, I don't have any leads either. You can start with the formation disk first. You can definitely pull out the mastermind behind this. A faint light flashed in Dean Gongsun's eyes. He did not let go of the slight change in great-grandfather Yes' expression. He sighed in his heart. It seemed that the members of the Yi family did not all welcome Yun Chujio. The two of them chatted for a while more before Dean Gong's son stood up and took his leave. Great-grandfather Yi returned to the study room and sat there in a daze for a while. If this continued, the Yi family would be finished sooner or later. Since that person was able to make a move in the Heaven Punisher Academy, it meant that he must be a teacher of the Heaven Punisher Academy. To be able to order that teacher to take risks and harm others, was it Gushur or Lushur? Old Master Yi took out a voice transmission talisman and said a few words. A moment later, an ordinary-looking man in black entered the room. Master, what orders do you have? The man in black felt his heart beating a little. They were the secret guards of the Yi family's secret guards. They were the Yi family's trump card. Unless the Yi family had an extremely important matter, they would not be used. Hey Cheong, bring some people to investigate Gushur and Lushur's recent actions. Find out if they are related to Little Jio's matter. Old Master Yi briefly recounted the incident where Yun Chujio was robbed and the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit. He Cheong nodded in agreement. After he left Old Master Yi's study. Soon the Yi family learned that Yun Chujio was trapped in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit. Of course they did not know anything about the formation leaves. Min Shur and Yi Xiong were naturally very sad. Little Jio had just died in the beginning and now she was trapped in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit. It was truly a disaster. When Yi Bingying heard the news, she was overjoyed. She hurriedly went to find Lu Shur. Mother, you're really amazing. Even if that little slut didn't die in there, she would still be out 10 years later. At that time, who would still remember her? Lu Shur's expression was complicated as she said, Bingying, although mother did arrange for someone at Xingtian Academy, that person didn't have the time to make a move. Yi Bingying was stunned. It wasn't arranged by you, mother? Could it be that grandmother sent someone to do it? Lu Shur shook her head. Last time your grandmother sent someone to intercept and kill Yun Chujio. Although the old master and your grandfather didn't investigate further after that, your grandmother would have restrained herself. It doesn't seem like what your grandmother did. Since it wasn't you or grandmother, could it be that Yun Chujio was really unlucky and that's why the array was broken? It's really retribution. Yi Bingying's expression was so excited that it was slightly distorted. During this period of time her cultivation had not improved because of the inner demon Yun Chujio. Now that that bitch had received retribution, she could finally cultivate in peace. He Cheong reported the contents of the report to Old Master Yi. Master, according to the information that Old Madam and Eldest Madam received, this matter should have nothing to do with them. However, the First Madam has indeed arranged for manpower in the Heaven Punisher Academy. We will find out the candidate as soon as possible. Great-grandfather Yi frowned. If it wasn't them, could it be that Little Jio had offended someone else? Let's hope that Tian Dao will bless and let Little Jio be safe and sound. A certain Jio in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit was routinely cursing. Damn it! If this old lady finds out who set me up, I will definitely kill him. Jinji rolled her eyes. That's enough. You're not tired from cursing, but I'm tired from listening to you. I think this time, it shouldn't be the artifact spirit of this heavenly pit. If there was an artifact spirit in this heavenly pit, would Shuemo be able to do whatever he wanted? I'm just trying to lure out the artifact spirit. After cursing for 2 days, there was still no movement. It seemed that this time it wasn't the artifact spirit's fault. Someone must be scamming us. It might be someone from the Gushur or Lushur. Yun Chujio sighed and said. At that time this guy was dreaming. After he left, he would definitely be thanked by everyone and praised by the academy. Furthermore, he would become the top student of the academy. He had even prepared his speech. In the end he was scammed. One could imagine how depressed this guy was. Shui Wuji walked over and advised, Little sister Jiao Jinji, don't be too pessimistic. Perhaps the academy will send people to save us. If they could come down, they would have come down long ago. I reckon that there's something wrong with the teleportation array. Although we won't have to worry about eating and drinking here, I won't be able to see any gigolos in the future. If I can't get out, the gigolos that I've fattened up with great difficulty will be given to other fairies. The corners of Shui Wuji and Jinji's eyes twitched. Why did this word sound so awkward? A pretty boy that fattened up. It sounded more like a pig that fattened up. Jinji recalled that Enfeng's face had also turned pale, and Xue Wuji's mind was filled with thoughts of Pui. Why would this young master think of that damnable woman? For a moment the three of them did not speak and the atmosphere was very depressing. All right. Being pessimistic and sad is not going to solve the problem. I don't think we can count on the people outside. The pretty boy and Enfeng won't know about us for a while. I don't think the people from Xingtian Academy will be able to come in any time soon. Let's think of a way to save ourselves. Yun Chujia's self-recovery ability was very strong. Just a moment ago she was just a withered grass, but now she was fully recovered. Xue Wuji glanced at her. How do we save ourselves? We were transported here by a teleportation array. That means there's no exit here. Tisich. Is there no exit in this world? If there's no door we can go through the window. If there's no window we can fucking make a window. I don't believe it. Even if we're inside an egg we should be able to get out by breaking the eggshell, right? Yun Chujio straightened her back. She said confidently. Chapter 2366. Big Heart. Xue Wuji glanced at her again. Little sister Jio, although I don't want to hurt you, we can't even find the eggshell now. Are you going to make the ground cold? Or are you going to make the stone wall cold? As the name suggested, the sinkhole was an irregular deep pit. It was surrounded by stone walls, so how could they get out? Yun Chujio pointed at the top. There's no way out from down there, but that doesn't mean there's no way out from up there. Let's climb up and see what's going on up there. Last time they didn't understand why they had come down because of Shuemo. Although they could only see stones, they might find something new in the distance. Xue Wuji and Jinji's spirits were lifted. Little Jio's words made sense. There was no harm in going up and taking a look. If they encountered danger they could just climb down again. Thus the three of them climbed up the stone wall. Little Jio, which way should we go? Jinji saw that there were rocks that stretched as far as the eye could see. For a moment she didn't know which way to go. We should go east along the stone wall. If there's danger we can climb down, Yun Chujio said. However, after saying that, this guy felt that something was wrong. If they went along the stone wall, wouldn't they be walking in a circle? Then they wouldn't be able to go east or west. They could only go south. However, if they encountered danger they would have no way to avoid it. Then the question was, should they go or not? Yun Chujio shared her thoughts. Xue Wuji laughed. Little sister Jio, we have no other choice anyway. What's there to hesitate about? Let's go. It's better than waiting here aimlessly. Yun Chujio giggled. That's what I meant as well. But after you guys taught me a lesson last time, I've learned to be cautious. Xue Wuji and Jinji almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy sounded nice, but he had learned to be cautious? This guy was afraid that they would blame her, so he deliberately let Xue Wuji make the decision. This guy was getting more and more shameless. The three of them chatted and laughed as they walked down the south. After walking for an entire day they still saw rocks of all sizes. Not to mention demon beasts, they didn't even see a single plant. It's really strange. It's lush down there. Why isn't there any grass growing up here? Jinji said in puzzlement. Either there's no water source or there's something terrifying. But according to common sense, since this is the birthplace of the Heaven Punisher Divine Axe, there shouldn't be anything bad here, right? Yun Chujio didn't believe what she said. The previous Shuemo was a good example. The next day the three of them still found nothing. On the third day they still saw rocks. The three of them couldn't help but feel discouraged. Not only did they see rocks, they couldn't even see the edge. Could it be that there was no end to this place? However, there was no way out. They could only continue forward. On the morning of the fourth day, the three of them realized that the sky was a little gloomy, as if it was going to rain. Little Jio, could it be that the heavenly lightning is going to strike you? Jinji asked worriedly. Yun Chujio shook her head. These dark clouds don't have any pressure. It should be just ordinary rain. Wu Yan looked at Yun Chujio and said, it's going to rain. Since it's going to rain, let's take a day off today. Come, give us a hand. Let's build an awning. Let's enjoy the rain while we roast meat inside. Feels great just thinking about it. Little Jio, I've discovered that your greatest strength is your big heart. That's a terrible thing to say. This is called being strong, optimistic, tenacious, and fearless in my optimistic spirit. Chapter 2367. The rocks here will bloom. Yun Chujio and Jinji bickered while helping Xue Wuji build an awning. With ready-made wood and tools, A simple awning was quickly built. Yun Chujio disliked the rocks in the awning and used a shovel to move them outside. After cleaning up, the three of them set up a bonfire and began to roast meat. At this time the rain fell pitter-patter. It seemed that it would not stop for a few hours. After the three of them ate the roast meat, Shui Wuji said, "The journey these few days has been very tiring. You two can take a nap. I'll be on guard." Yun Chujio and Jin Ji did not stand on ceremony. At night they were afraid that there would be demonic beasts, so they did not sleep well. It was perfect for catching up on sleep on rainy days. Just when Yun Chujio was sleeping soundly, she was woken up by Shui Wuji's surprised voice. "Look." Yun Chujio opened her eyes and was stunned when she saw the scene in front of her. Jin Ji cried out in surprise, "Oh my god! These stones actually blossomed." The originally gray stones actually blossomed into beautiful flowers. Regardless of whether it was large stones or small stones, they all blossomed into beautiful flowers. Only some of the stones at the edge of the awning were still gray because they were not drenched in the rain. Yun Chujio recalled that in her previous life, there was a kind of fleshy flower called a raw stone flower. It usually looked like a stone, but when it reached the flowering period it would bloom. Could it be that these stones were actually plants? Yun Chujio thought of this and picked up a stone at the edge. No matter how she looked at it, it was still a stone. She simply took the large kitchen knife and slashed at the stone. The stone actually let out a shrill scream. Its originally hard shell instantly turned into powder. Not only was it a plant, it was actually a living demonic plant. Yun Chujio and the other two immediately felt a huge crisis. If these demonic plants did not attack people, it would be fine. But if they attacked people, they would be dead for sure. There were all these demonic plants here. They had nowhere to run. Yun Chujio made a prompt decision. No matter what, since they can only bloom with rainwater, they should be afraid of fire. Let's build a bonfire just in case. The three of them built a few bonfires in the awning. Although it was very hot, it was still better than being attacked by the demonic plants. Jin Ji exclaimed again, "Oh my god! Not only can they bloom, they even bear fruit." Yun Chujio looked up and saw that some of the stones had already begun to wither and turn into small stones. Indeed, they were bearing fruit. Since they had already borne fruit, they probably wouldn't attack them, right? Soon many of the stones began to bear fruit. One after another they heard the sound of small stones falling to the ground. Yun Chujio and the other two stared at those stones, afraid that they would suddenly attack. For some reason Yun Chujio thought of the poisonous grass at the bottom of the Heaven Dao cliff. These rocks were definitely not easy to deal with. Otherwise there would not be any living things on them. Thinking of the Heaven Dao cliff, Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. She took out the small rock given to her by the Heaven Dao cliff and recited it according to the chant, but there was no response. She recited it again, but there was still no response. Fuck. The Tian Dao cliff was such an idiot. They were bragging so much, but now there was no way to contact it. If the Tian Dao cliff knew, they would probably die of injustice. The small rock would only be effective within 5,000 miles. Yun Chujio and the others were more than 5,000 miles away. Seeing that the small rock did not respond, Yun Chujio had no choice but to put the small rock away. Small 9. Jin Ji's voice slightly trembling. Chapter 2368 Stone Golems. Yun Chujio looked in the direction of Jin Ji's finger and saw that the stones that had already been formed began to gather and bounce before turning into large stones. No wonder there were small stones and large stones here. So that was how they were formed. However, this was not the source of Jin Ji's trembling. Those tall stones actually grew limbs and looked like people who were carved out of stone. The stone men walked towards the awning. Little Jio, what are they doing here? Would you believe me if I said that they are here to have a friendly exchange with us? Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth and said. Jin Ji stomped her feet angrily. What time is it now? You still have the mood to joke around. What should we do now? Let's wait and see. The three of them stood in the middle of the awning, staring at the stone golems. More than 10 stone golems surrounded the awning, but they seemed to be afraid of the fire. They just stood outside the awning and did not move. Yun Chujio was just relieved when one of the stone golems stretched out its huge arm and slapped the awning. The rest of the stone men followed suit and the awning immediately collapsed. Fortunately, Yun Chujio and the other two reacted quickly and jumped out from the gap between the stone men. However, the bonfire was extinguished as soon as the rain was poured. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. She didn't expect these stone men to have intelligence, which made them even more difficult to deal with. Hey, we are just passing by. We don't want to be enemies with you. Don't come over. Yun Chujio shouted at the stone men desperately. The stone golems squeaked as if they were mocking Yun Chujio. They chased after Yun Chujio and the other two. The three of them looked at each other. It was useless to run. There must be other stone golems somewhere else. They could only attack. The three of them attacked at the same time. Although the stone golems were huge, they were not very agile. Therefore the three of them could barely deal with them. However, there was one thing that made Jinji and Xue Wuji very sullen. Although their attacks could block the stone golems, they could not cause any damage to them. On the other hand, on Yun Chujio's side, a bolt of lightning could chop off the arm of a stone golem. A few bolts of lightning could chop the stone golem into several small stones. Seeing that Xue Wuji and Jinji were helpless, Yun Chujio decided to bring out the little black bird and Xiao Hanyo. Both of them were fire type, so they were more effective against Yao Ji. As expected, these stone golems were more afraid of fire type attacks, so they gradually began to retreat. Seeing this, Yun Chujio asked Xue Wuji and Jinji to build another awning. Then she lit a bonfire inside. She, Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Hong were on guard to prevent the stone golems from approaching. As the rain stopped, the small stones on the ground returned to their gray appearance. The hands and feet of the stone golems also shrank back, turning into ordinary large stones. Only then did Yun Chujio and the other two collapse onto the ground. They let out a sigh of relief in their hearts. Fortunately, the rain did not continue to fall. Otherwise, if all the stone men from other places gathered here, the three of them would have been exhausted to death. Little Joe, there are all these stone demonic plants here. Will there be an end? Jinji could not help but feel a little discouraged. There will definitely be an end. All living things in the world are mutually reinforcing and counter each other. If there is no end to these stone demonic plants, wouldn't it be heaven-defying? Yun Chujio said. Until here a thought flashed through her mind, but it was too fast. Before she could catch it, it slipped away. Chapter 2369. A small flame filled with food. The three of them rested for a while and continued walking forward. In the past, it was fine if they didn't know that these stones were demonic plants. Now they felt uneasy as they walked, afraid that these demonic plants would suddenly attack them. However, the three of them realized that these demonic plants seemed to only change when it rained. Normally they were no different from stones, so they were more or less relieved. Little Joe, have you noticed? It seems to be getting hotter and hotter. Jinji said while wiping her sweat. Yun Chujio had a flash of inspiration. He remembered. Didn't I say something before? Look, these rocks are becoming more and more sparse and the temperature is getting hotter and hotter. I'm afraid there's a volcano in front of us. Jinji sat down on the ground. It's over. Even if that volcano is the end, we can't cross it. Xue Wuji looked a little dejected. Yes, if there was a volcano in front of them, they couldn't fly here and they wouldn't be able to cross it even if they reached the front. Don't be discouraged. Let's go over and take a look first. If it's a volcano formed from fire marrow, they'll get the little flame to collect the fire marrow and we'll have a way out. If it's just an ordinary volcano, we'll just return. Yun Chujio had the fire-repelling pearl she could pass through, but she couldn't leave Jinji and Xue Wuji alone. Jinji and Xue Wuji nodded and the three of them continued walking. The weather was getting hotter and hotter. There were almost no strange stones left. Instead, a large desert was in their place. Yun Chujio gave Xue Wuji and Jinji a few beads of guaichao. Only then did the two of them feel much better. After walking for another day, they could see a mountain range that stretched for miles in the distance. It was dark and did not look like a volcanic eruption. After walking for another 3 days, the three of them finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. The ground was filled with rising heat waves. Fortunately, the three of them were cultivators, or else they would have been roasted. Yun Chujio asked Jinji and Xue Wuji to wait a little further away. She walked to the front of the mountain and looked carefully. The situation here was somewhat similar to the situation when she found the small flame. She did not know if there was fire marrow here. When Yun Chujio was knocking around, the small flame flew out of Yun Chujio's right palm with a whoosh and jumped into a stone wall. Yun Chujio was delighted. It seemed like there was a chance. In less than 15 minutes, the small flame jumped out. Without waiting for Yun Chujio to say anything, It jumped into another stone wall. After another 15 minutes, the small flame jumped out again and then jumped into another stone wall. Yun Chujio hugged her shoulders and watched the small flame jump around like a hard-working bee. It seemed to have grown bigger. It seemed like there was really fire marrow in it. However, judging from the time, the fire marrow in it should not be too strong. Otherwise, it would not have been swallowed by the little flame so easily. Perhaps it was because the fire marrow had been swallowed by the little flame. Yun Chujio felt that the temperature had started to drop. Yun Chujio frowned. This was the barrier of the stones. If the fire marrow was swallowed by the little flame, the stones would definitely flood. Hence, Yun Chujio shouted at the little flame, "All right, that's enough. Leave some or those stones will break out of prison." The little flame acted as if it did not hear her and continued to run around. What a joke. If there was food but not food, could it be that they were left for the new year? Chapter 2370 was out. Yun Chujio shouted several times, but the little flame acted as if it did not hear her. It continued to act as it wished and ran around, determined to eat up all the fire marrow here. Yun Chujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Since it was useless, she could only use her hands. So when the little flame jumped out again, Yun Chujio caught the little flame. "Do you know that fire will die for food? If these stones run outside to cause trouble because of you, you will bear the karma and you will never be able to transform into a human again." Perhaps it was because of Yun Chujio's threat. The little flame obediently went into Yun Chujio's right palm. However, Yun Chujio could feel the little flame's unwillingness in her spiritual sense. Pui! What a foodie! Shui Wuji and Jin Ji felt the temperature drop and rushed over. "Little Jio, is there really fire marrow in here?" Yun Chujio nodded and said, "When the temperature of the mountain in front drops a little, we will hurry over." "Little Jio, the fire marrow in this mountain range has been eaten by the little flame. Will it become a gap?" Jinji asked worriedly. "Don't worry. Those rocks are far away from here and they can only move on rainy days. By the time they react, the fire marrow in the other mountain ranges should have already occupied this place." Another 2 days had passed. Although the mountain was very hot, it was still possible to use spiritual power to protect their bodies. The three of them decided to start moving. When Shui Wuji and Jin Ji's spiritual power could not hold on any longer, Yun Chujio took turns carrying them. Although Shui Wuji felt a little embarrassed, he did not care about his face anymore in order to survive. Anyway, this guy was also reckless. It took the three of them 2 days to walk out of the mountain range that was full of bare rocks. Then they came to a desert. Although the temperature in the desert was very high to Jinji and Shui Wuji, it was already like a fairyland. The three of them walked for another 2 days. Sparse plants began to appear on the ground. The sound of water could be heard from afar. The three of them were invigorated and quickened their steps. Finally, they saw a valley full of vitality. Spiritual plants, trees and streams. It was extremely cordial to look at. The three of them walked to the edge of the stream and drank a few mouthfuls of water. They suddenly felt refreshed. They did not know if it was because of psychological effects, but they felt that the stream water was very sweet. At the same time, Yun Chujio and Jin Ji noticed that the sound transmission talisman in their storage rings started to vibrate. The two of them looked at each other and jumped up and down in surprise. The sound transmission talisman had a reaction, which meant that they had already left the Divine Axe heavenly pit. After the two of them were excited, they took out the voice transmission talisman to check. As expected, it was sent by Di Biming and Enfeng. A few days ago, Di Biming and Enfeng had just killed a wave of enemies. Di Biming sent a voice transmission talisman to Yun Chujio and found that no one replied. However, when he remembered that Yun Chujio had once told him that they were going to the heavenly pit to conduct a test for 10 days, he was not too anxious. However, after counting the 10 days that had passed, there was still no reply. This made him a little worried. Yun Chujio simply told him what had happened. "Prince Charming, we have already left the sinkhole. We just don't know where we are. We will tell you when we have confirmed our location." On the other side, Di Biming and Enfeng were surrounded by another wave of enemies. They could only reply briefly before they started fighting again. If it was an ordinary girl who had just escaped death and her beloved simply comforted her and ignored her, she would definitely be furious. However, a certain Jio had always liked to level up by herself, and she had been trying her best to fulfill her 3-year promise. So, after a short loss, she was revived with full health again. Chapter 2371. Holy Stream. It had to be said that birds of a feather flock together. Jinji was also a heartless person. After putting away the voice transmission talisman, she said with a smile, "Little Jiu, we can play truant openly. After we have wandered enough, we can go back to the academy." Shui Wuji also echoed from the side, "That's right. This time we narrowly escaped death. We have to travel around the mountains and rivers to heal my wounds. I was actually piggybacked by little Jiu several times. How embarrassing." Yun Chujio was about to speak when she felt someone approaching. The three of them immediately raised their vigilance and looked into the distance. Yun Chujio lowered her head and grabbed 2 handfuls of soil. She wiped it on her face and then motioned for Shui Wuji and Jinji to wipe the soil on their faces as well. Although Shui Wuji and Jinji did not quite understand Yun Chujio's meaning, they still followed her instructions. 2 people ran over from afar. One of them shouted angrily while running, "Hey! Stay away from the Fan family's sacred stream." Fan family? Sacred stream? Fortunately, the 3 of them had drunk water just now and were some distance away from the stream. Otherwise they would really be caught red-handed. The 2 of them ran to the front and looked at the 3 of them unhappily. "How did you get into the back mountain of our Fan family? Don't you know that this is our Fan family's territory?" Yun Chujio said in surprise, "Oh my god. This is the back mountain of the Fan family? We are lost. We don't know what happened. We couldn't get out no matter how hard we tried. We almost died in the desert in front of us. Benefactors, it's so good to see you. Please help us get out." Shui Wuji and Jinji were used to Yun Chujio's acting skills being online at any time. Therefore, the 2 of them showed a pleasantly surprised expression and cooperated seamlessly. The 2 of them looked at each other and one of them said, "Entered by mistake? There are people guarding the back of the mountain. How did you enter by mistake? Tell me, what is your purpose?" Yun Chujio looked innocent. "You 2 have seen it too. Our spiritual power is so low, what can we do? Unless we don't want to live anymore, that's why we are seeking death." "Brotherly, I don't think they're lying. Weren't there lightning and thunder a few days ago? I think they entered by mistake." One of them guessed. The other frowned. "That's possible. What should we do now? Should we hand them over to the higher-ups or let them go? If we're not afraid of polluting the sacred stream, we should just kill them." Yun Chujio's eyes darkened. Kill them? If they dared to make a move, who knew who would die? Brothers meeting each other is fate. We don't have anything good on us. You 2 can buy some tea with these spiritual stones. Yun Chujio pretended to transfer a portion of the spiritual stones from Shui Wuji and Jinji and gave them 50,000 upper-grade spiritual stones each. Naturally, it wouldn't work if it was too much. It would easily trigger their greed and they might even kill them for their wealth. Since it wouldn't work if it was too little, they might as well not give it to them. After receiving the spirit stones, their attitude softened a little. When they saw the miserable appearance of Yun Chujio and the other 2, and the clothes they were wearing weren't of any expensive material, they guessed that they only had so many spirit stones on them. "Forget it. Since we're in a good mood today, we'll spare you. Come with us and we'll send you out." One of them curled his lips and said. Yun Chujio and the other 2 naturally thanked him profusely and followed the 2 out. Yun Chujio rejoiced in her heart. Fortunately, the 3 of them had already changed out of the Xingtian Academy's clothes. Otherwise, it would have been easy to get into trouble. Although she didn't know if this Fan family was the Fan family that Yi Xinwan had married into, it was very likely that the Fan family was the super aristocratic family that had such a large back hill. It was better to not provoke them. Chapter 2372. Fan Mingchuan. Yun Chujio and the other 2 followed the 2 men out. Yun Chujio said fawningly, "The fact that the 2 big brothers are able to work in the Fan family is really enviable. Unlike us, who have low spiritual power and are unable to enter the Fan family." One of them snorted coldly, "Of course. The Fan family is a super aristocratic family. Trash like you naturally cannot enter." Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. It was indeed the Fan family that Yi Xinwan married. Yi Xinwan was capable of snatching her stepsister's fiancé. She was probably not a good person. It was better to leave this place as soon as possible. Yun Chujio saw the entrance to the back of the mountain from afar. Before she could breathe a sigh of relief, she saw a young man walking towards her, followed by 8 followers. Oh no. Why is young Master Mingchuan here? Be more tactful later. If you offend young Master Mingchuan, not only you but we will all die, do you hear me? The garlic nose said fiercely. Yun Chujia's heart tightened. Young Master Mingchuan? Could it be that Fan Mingchuan who was born from Yi Xianwan? It was really a narrow road for enemies. Yun Chujio silently sized up Fan Mingchuan a few times. No wonder old Master Yi said that he was highly regarded by the head of the Fan family. He did not look like an ignorant silk pants. However, if that was the case, it would be very difficult to fool him. He might even be charged with breaking into the back of the mountain. If he revealed his identity and was worried that Yi Xinwan would attack him, he would really be in a dilemma. Fan Mingchuan frowned when he saw Yun Chujio and the other 2. The 3 of them looked disheveled and their faces were gray. Moreover, their spiritual power was very low. What was going on? Jin, who are they? This is the forbidden area of the back mountain. How can there be outsiders? Fan Mingchuan asked unhappily with a gloomy face. Young Master Mingchuan, the 2 of us found them when we were patrolling. They said that they accidentally entered the back mountain a few days ago when there was lightning and thunder. Then they got lost. The garlic nose nodded and bowed. Fan Mingchuan frowned. Everyone within a radius of 100 li knows that this mountain range belongs to our Fan family. It's strictly forbidden to go near it. Why are you guys going near it? Tell us. Fan Mingchuan used his coercion when he spoke. The legs of the garlic nose and Jin Ji felt a little weak and they almost knelt down. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji were slightly uncomfortable and Yun Chujio was fine. However, when they saw the garlic nose and Jin Ji, they pretended to tremble slightly. This, young master, we didn't mean to get close to this mountain range. You know, the situation that day was too terrible. We wanted to find a place to hide, but we were too scared. In addition, the sky was dark, so we approached this mountain range in a daze and ran into it in a panic. We wanted to come out, but we chose the wrong direction and walked into the desert. We were almost roasted into dried meat, and just when we returned, we met these 2 benefactors. Yun Chujio made up a lie based on the information they revealed. Fan Mingchuan frowned. You came out of the desert? Yun Chujio nodded. Yes, look, we still have sand on us. If you didn't come out of the desert, we can let you live. Tie you up and find a place to kill you. Don't dirty the back of the mountain, Fan Mingchuan said coldly. But for the first time she made up a story about a hornet's nest. Yun Chujio asked in horror, Young master, you have to let us die. What's wrong with the desert? There's nothing in it. Chapter 2373 was sent to the mine. Fan Mingchuan snorted coldly. It's fine for you guys to enter the desert, but it's extremely hot inside the desert. After you guys came out of the desert and saw the holy water, how could you not drink it? If you secretly drink our Fan family's holy water, kill without mercy. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart, damn it. Your Fan family's holy water. Are you shameless? That was clearly a stream water. How did it become your Fan family's? Although Yun Chujio was angry in her heart. But on the surface she said aggrievedly, Young master, you really wronged us. Because our spiritual power is low, we have a very ample reserve of resources. In addition, we didn't encounter a single demonic beast in the valley, so we didn't dare to drink the stream water, afraid that something was wrong. As Yun Chujio spoke, she took out 3 large water vats filled with water, proving that she wasn't lying. The garlic nose leaned over and took a sip. Young Master Mingchuan, this is indeed not the taste of our holy water. I was once rewarded with a cup of it, and the taste was comparable to immortal dew. This is just ordinary water. Moreover, when we discovered them, they were still some distance away from the stream, so they probably didn't drink the holy water secretly. Garlic Nose was afraid that if Fan Mingchuan really wanted to kill Yun Chujio and the other 2, Yun Chujio and the other 2 would jump over the wall and say that they had bribed them, so he tried his best to excuse them. Fan Mingchuan's face was gloomy as he said to the attendant behind him, These 2 are not suitable for patrolling in the back mountain. Send them along with these 3 to the mine. Garlic Nose and the other 2 immediately knelt on the ground. Young Master Mingchuan, please spare our lives. Young Master Mingchuan, although we accepted their spirit stones, we only dared to accept them after we found out that they didn't drink the holy water secretly. Please spare our lives. Yun Chujio pursed her lips in her heart. These two were really stupid. If they did not say that there was still some room for reconciliation, then they had to go or not. Sure enough, Fan Mingchuan did not even look at the two of them. He waved at the guards behind him, indicating for them to take them away. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji stole a glance at Yun Chujio. When they saw that Yun Chujio did not have any reaction, they did not resist and left the back mountain with the 4 guards. Yun Chujio naturally wanted to escape, but she could not see through the spiritual powers of the 4 guards. Moreover, this was clearly the Fan family's territory. If they were to use force, there was no chance of victory. She could only take one step at a time. If it really did not work out, she would get Di Baiming to send a message to Old Master Yi. Yun Chujio was very regretful now. Why did she not think of asking Old Master Yi or Yi Bingyu for the sound transmission talisman? How stupid. Yun Chujio originally thought that the mine that Fan Mingchuan mentioned was very far from here. She did not expect to see a mine after leaving the back of the mountain and walking a few dozen miles to the side. There were many guards guarding the entrance of the mine. One of the guards who sent them here said to a small leader, "These two made a mistake. These 3 trespassed into the back of the mountain. Believe them to you." After the guard finished speaking, he left with his men. The small leader did not pay attention to the 2 people with the garlic nose. Instead, he sized up Yun Chujio and Jinji. A lustful look flashed across his eyes. Although these 2 girls' faces were dirty. However, the girls in the mine were either old or ugly. It was rare to meet 2 beautiful girls. He could find an opportunity to have some fun. The leader had a few thoughts in his mind. Then he said to a guard, "They are new here. I don't think they know how to mine. Let them go to the canteen to help with the cooking first. We will let them mine with us in 2 days." Chapter 2374. Lighting a fire. The guard agreed and brought Yun Chujio and the others to the canteen. As this was a spirit stone mine, one could not use talismans or formation plates to blast the ore when mining. One could only rely on manpower to dig the ore. Therefore, there were many miners in this mine. As there were many people, the canteen was not small. The guard handed Yun Chujio and the others over to the canteen manager. After briefly explaining the situation, he turned around and left. The steward of the canteen sized up Yun Chujio and the others. "What are your specialties? We don't want useless people in the canteen." Yun Chujio raised her claws and said, "The 3 of us used to burn the fire. We know very well what kind of dishes and how to cook them." The steward of the canteen asked Yun Chujio a few questions about burning the fire, and Yun Chujio answered them smoothly. The steward was very satisfied. "Not bad. Then the 3 of you will be responsible for the fire. The 6 stoves on the east side will be your responsibility. If anything goes wrong, humph. Don't worry, we will do our duty. We will do our best to light the fire." Yun Chujio promised repeatedly. This guy said that it was true that many skills did not weigh on one's body. He did not expect that the fire-burning skills would be useful at the critical moment. The steward saw that Yun Chujio was obedient and his expression softened. He looked at the 2 men and asked, "What do you know?" The 2 of them looked at each other. They had never cooked before and knew nothing about the affairs of the canteen. The steward curled his lips and said, "Since you don't know anything, then do the physical work. See that pile of wood? Go chop it. I don't keep idle people here." The garlic-nosed duo had obviously heard of the rules of the mine before. They did not dare to have any doubts and obediently agreed. Immediately, the steward brought Yun Chujio and the other 2 to the canteen and told the little steward who was in charge of the stove. Yun Chujio and the other 2 started to light the fire. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji had never done such a rough job before. They did not know where to start. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had been a handyman for a period of time, so she was familiar with it. She helped to guide the miners, so she was able to muddle through it. As the miners had exhausted a lot of their physical strength, the meals prepared in the canteen were all meat dishes and the smell was very fragrant. After the dishes were prepared, special people were sent to deliver and fetch the meals for the miners. After lunch, the people in the canteen began to prepare dinner. They did not stop for even a second. Yun Chujio and the other 2 did not have the chance to talk to each other alone. They could only communicate with their eyes. Yun Chujio signaled Shui Wuji and Jin Ji to calm down. There were at least 20 guards guarding the door and their spiritual power was not low. There were many guards patrolling the mine, so it was basically impossible to rush out. Finally they were done with dinner. The steward looked at Yun Chujio and the other two. There are dormitories behind the canteen. There are 6 men in one room and 4 women in one room. You can stay in whichever room you see fit. Yun Chujio gave the steward a look. Steward, I have an important matter to ask you. Do you think you could talk in private? The steward immediately understood. He brought Yun Chujio to a corner and asked arrogantly, What do you want? Steward, this is 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Do you think you can let the 3 of us live together? The 3 of us are siblings. We can take care of each other if we stay together. Yun Chujio passed the 10,000 high-grade spirit stones to the steward. She pleaded. Forget it. You guys are quite pitiful. The room at the end is empty. The 3 of you can live there. The steward curled his lips and said. Chapter 2375 Disguises. Yun Chujio said a lot of nice things, and the canteen manager left with a belly full. Yun Chujio brought Jinji and Jinji to the empty room that the canteen manager mentioned. The conditions were naturally very simple, but at least they did not have to squeeze together with others. It was more convenient to talk. The 3 of them cleaned briefly and then began to discuss the next step of their plan. Jinji was just about to speak when Yun Chujio shook her head at her, indicating for the 3 of them to use the voice transmission talisman to communicate. Little Joe, what should we do next? Inform your excellency? Jinji asked. When we were talking earlier, they seemed to have encountered some trouble. I'm afraid they won't be able to escape for a while. Let's see the situation first. If it doesn't work, well, inform them again. They'll just ask Old Master Yi or Yi Bingyu for a voice transmission talisman. How stupid. Yun Chujio said in annoyance. Shui Wuji's brows were tightly knitted. Little Sister Jiu, this place is heavily guarded. It's basically impossible to rush out. I'm afraid that there's no other way apart from letting that expressionless D Biming come and save us. It's not like there's no chance at all. I still have some netherworld powder in my hands. Coincidentally, we're still in the canteen, so if we find an opportunity to enter the food, we'll be able to escape. However, this is the Fan family's territory. I'm afraid that we won't be able to run far before we are captured. Oh right, these are disguising pills. Eat them to avoid trouble in the future. It'll teach you another set of cultivation methods to change your spiritual roots, especially Brother Wuji. It's too easy for people to recognize you as a mutated wind spiritual root. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she gave Jinji and Shui Wuji half a disguising pill each. This way they could last for at least 5 days. Shui Wuji and Jinji were both smart people. They quickly learned the cultivation method that Yun Chujio had taught them to change their spirit roots. Only then did the 3 of them go to bed to rest. Of course, the ones who went to bed to rest were Yun Chujio and Jinji. Shui Wuji could only sleep on the ground. Moreover, he had to be on night duty in the first half of the night. The next day before dawn, the 3 of them got up and went to the canteen to start the fire. Yun Chujio found joy in her misery as she recalled the days when she was in the Ling Hua sect. She did not expect that she would become a fire-burning servant again in her lifetime. After a busy morning, the 3 of them had just sat down to eat breakfast when they saw the little leader that they had met at the door the day before walking over unsteadily. The little leader could not help but feel a little disappointed when he saw the appearance of Yun Chujio and Jinji after their disguises. Originally, after taking the disguising pills, their appearances were very ordinary. In addition, Yun Chujio and Jinji had deliberately disguised themselves to look ugly, therefore, one could imagine how honorable they were. Although the leader was disappointed, he thought about it. No matter what, these 2 were little girls. Whether they looked good or not would be the same at night. When the leader thought of this, he asked with a fake smile, "Are you 2 ladies used to it?" Yun Chujio said with a hoarse voice, "It's quite good. As long as we have a meal, it's fine." The leader frowned. Why was his voice so unpleasant? The canteen is the easiest job in this spirit stone mine. If I didn't see that you're new here, you wouldn't have such a good job. If you can make me happy, you can always stay in the canteen. If you're stubborn, humph, then go to the mine to mine. The leader reached out his hand to touch Yun Chujio's face. Yun Chujio leaned to the side and said submissively, "You must be joking, sir. The 3 of us have always been stubborn. Otherwise, we wouldn't have fallen to such a state." Chapter 2376. Miners. The leader was so embarrassed that he flew into a rage. Fine. Since you guys like to mine, go and mine now. The steward's eyes flashed. He laughed and said, Leader Lu, why are you so angry this early in the morning? These three are new here, so they are not very sensible. Give me a few days and I will help to enlighten them. Maybe they will come around. The steward of the canteen had his own plans. He also wanted to extract some spiritual stones from Yunchujio and the others, so he stopped them. The little leader seemed to be a little afraid of the steward of the canteen. He snorted coldly from his nose. Forget it, I will give you face this time. You guys better be careful. If you dare to do anything, I will kill you. After saying that, the leader left with a cold face. Yunchujio and the other two naturally thanked the steward. The steward said with a faint smile, I can protect you this time, but I may not be able to protect you next time. You can count on your own luck. Yunchujio's eyelashes were empty, so she naturally knew that the steward was trying to extort them. She bit her lips and found an excuse to call the steward to the side. Sir, to be honest, the three of us are from a poor family. We don't have many spiritual stones on us to begin with. Yesterday we even gave Chinchujio and the others 50,000 high-grade spiritual stones each. Therefore don't think that 10,000 high-grade spiritual stones is too little. Please take care of us in the future. Hearing Yunchujio's words, the steward's eyes flashed. As long as you don't cause trouble, I will naturally take care of you. Go back. Yunchujio caught a glimpse of the steward going to look for the garlic-nosed two people. He was secretly happy. Let them fight like dogs. That night, the three returned to the dormitory. Shui Wuji took out a voice transmission talisman and said, Little Jio, it can't go on like this. I see that the little leader is not willing to give up on you and Jinji. Maybe he will do something. We have to finish this quickly. How about this? Tomorrow we'll think of a way to get the job of delivering food. We'll take a look inside and then make plans. Yunchujio vaguely had the intention of killing two birds with one stone, but she still needed to see the actual situation. At noon the next day, Yunchujio glibly asked for the job of delivering food. Yunchujio and the other two rushed to the mining area with a few people from the canteen. Yunchujio finally understood why they were so afraid of being miners. The miners were all sweating and there were guards with whips behind them. If they didn't like someone, they would whip them. They were like cows and horses. Yunchujio found that most of the miners' spiritual power was above hers. She didn't know why these people became miners. They were definitely not hired, because if they were hired they would not be whipped and not dare to resist. Perhaps some of them had made mistakes just like the garlic nose and the others. Where did the rest come from? When the manager of the mine saw that the canteen had come to deliver the food, he allowed the miners to take a short break for 15 minutes. Yunchujio cursed in her heart. They really did not treat these miners as human beings. What was 15 minutes enough for? Fortunately, the main food in the canteen was steamed buns. They only needed to help the miners with the dishes. The miners wolfed down their food, afraid that they wouldn't have any food because of the overtime. Yunchujio noticed that among these miners, there were two very special people. One of them was a middle-aged strong man. His upper body was naked and his back was full of whip marks. It was obvious that he was not obedient. After he received the steamed buns and stewed meat, he did not eat them himself. Instead, he respectfully handed them to an old man. Then he came over to receive another set. Chapter 2377. A strange old man. The old man was very thin, but his eyes were calm. He did not eat like the others, but instead he seemed to be strolling leisurely. Yunchujio looked at the old man and felt that he looked very familiar. She seemed to have seen him somewhere before, but how could she have seen him before? Just as Yunchujio was thinking about it, the old man raised his head and looked at Yunchujio as if he had sensed something. Then the mantu in his hand fell to the ground. In just a moment the old man picked up the steamed bun and ate it naturally as if it was just an accident. However, Yunchujio caught the surprised look in the old man's eyes. Did he know me? Yunchujio's mind was a mess, but before she could think of anything, the miners had finished their meal. Yunchujio had to leave with the people from the canteen. Not far away she heard someone cursing, "You old thing. Everyone else has finished eating but you eat the slowest. Your work is useless. What is the meaning of living like this?" Yunchujio turned her head and saw a guard throwing a whip at the old man. The strong man protected the old man in front of him and took the whip head on. The brawny man turned his head and glared at the guard. The guard was scared and took a few steps back. He cursed a few times and then turned to leave. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and caught up with the people in the canteen. She said with a smile, "Is there something wrong with that brawny man's brain? Why would he take the whip for that old man? Could he be the son of that old man?" People loved to gossip regardless of their identity, and the people in the canteen were no exception. One of them said, "That strong man seems to be called the old man's benefactor. I guess the old man has given him favors in the past." Let me tell you, the rest of the people in this mine were all caught and brought in. That old man and that strong man actually requested to be brought in by themselves. Do you think they are sick? What the hell? They requested to be brought in by themselves? Are they stupid? Yun Chujio cooperated and revealed a surprised expression. The person who spoke immediately felt extremely satisfied. He lowered his voice and said, "This is absolutely true. I heard from the guards that the old man and the strong man actually went to the entrance of the mine to beg for food. Naturally, they were brought in." Yun Chujio agreed with a few words. She thought that the old man and the strong man were the ones who requested to be brought in. She thought that they were crying and shouting to be miners. However, it was also true. If that was the case, the people in the mine would suspect that the two of them had some ulterior motive. "Uncle, the three of us were caught because we broke into the back of the mountain." "Why were you caught?" Yun Chujio asked in a low voice. "Sigh. Don't mention it. I really agree with the old saying, when the city gate is on fire, the fish in the pond will be affected. I was originally a guard of the Liu family. The Liu family was a third-class family. Because of some things they offended the Fan family. In the end they were wiped out. We guards were captured and brought here to be miners. That's really unfortunate. What about the rest?" "Most of them were guards of the family that was wiped out by the Fan family. There were also some servants of the Fan family who made mistakes. There were also some who offended the Fan family." "What about your original masters?" Yun Chujio continued to ask curiously. That person smiled bitterly. "Little girl, you are really naive. Those old masters were naturally killed. Otherwise, how could they be at ease with us guards?" Chapter 2378 started fishing again. Yun Chujio sighed and comforted him. "Uncle, don't be sad. We will go out sooner or later." The people in the canteen laughed bitterly. One of them said self-deprecatingly, "Little girl, just give up. There is only one kind of people who go out, and that is dead people." Yun Chujio had a frightened look on her face. "It can't be, right? Then what if they get sick and can't work? Then they'll be killed immediately. How could they waste their pills on us? A good brother of mine was killed just because he got sick." The person who spoke sounded a little choked. "They simply don't treat us as human beings. Don't tell me we can only wait here to die. Are you guys willing to do that?" Yun Chujio stomped her feet and said unwillingly. "So what if I'm not willing to do that? The Fan family is a super aristocratic family. They can be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand. Even if we manage to escape, we will still be caught in the end. Moreover, we won't be able to avoid a beating. Moreover, this place is heavily guarded. Even if we want to escape, we won't be able to escape." "That might not be the case. Forget it, I'm just casually saying. You guys continue to chat and don't bother about me." Yun Chujio acted as if she had let the cat out of the bag and didn't say anything else. Shui Wuji and Jinji looked at each other. This guy had started fishing again. As expected, those people were not willing to let it go. They were like drowning people. Even if someone from above threw down a straw, they would not let it go. "Little girl, do you have a way to escape?" "Yes, little girl. We are all bound by the same fate. If you have a way, hurry up and tell us. We promise that it will not be leaked. If you don't believe me, I swear right now that if I tell anyone about what happened today, my soul will scatter and I will die a horrible death." "Yes, I swear too." You uncles are really too honest. Why did you swear? How could I not believe you?" Yun Chujio said with some embarrassment. The corners of Shui Wuji and Jinji's mouths twitched. "If you are sincere, don't wait until the other party has finished swearing." Hypocrite. Those people were in a hurry to find a way to escape, so they couldn't care less about these things. They all stared at Yun Chujio with eager eyes. "Uncles, don't stop. Walk forward normally. Otherwise, you will attract the attention of the guards." Yun Chujio saw that someone was looking in their direction and hurriedly said to the crowd. The crowd continued to walk forward. Yun Chujio lowered her voice and said, "Uncles, although the Fan family is a super aristocratic family, I heard that there is more than one super aristocratic family. Moreover, the relationship between them is not compatible with each other, especially the Chow family. They have always been arch-enemies with the Fan family. If we can escape, we will just go to the Chow family." One of them shook his head and said, "Little girl, you are really naive. We are at most the lowest level of guards. Will the Chow family fall out with the Fan family for us? If we just go, the Chow family will naturally not protect us. But what if we bring a large amount of spirit stones? Because we have nowhere else to go but the Chow family. There is no doubt about our loyalty. The Chow family has both earned money and expanded their own power. Why not?" Yun Chujia's face was smiling, but in her heart she was ruthless. That bastard Fan Mingchuan wanted her life? He'll let you taste the taste of losing both people and money. The few people in the canteen did not speak for a while. They were considering the feasibility of what Yun Chujio said. Chapter 2379 came to mind. Yun Chujio did not urge them. She knew that these people would definitely agree because they could only wait for death here. It was better to take a gamble. Where there was oppression, there would be resistance. Since ancient times, it was the same principle. Especially when the oppression reached a certain level. Once someone rose up, there would be a response. Sure enough, after a while, someone said, "What this little girl said is not unreasonable. It's just that there is a way out. How can we escape? Although we can deal with these guards together, the Fan family is not far from here. Once we receive the news, they will send people to support us. Our previous efforts will be in vain. Then let them not have the chance to send a message to the Fan family. Not everyone can communicate with the Fan family, right?" Yun Chujio asked. "Only a few small leaders can communicate with the Fan family. Are you saying that we will launch a surprise attack? But even if it is a surprise attack, they still have the chance to call for help. Leave this matter to us. What you need to do is to contact those miners. You must make them swear a poison oath before you talk about this matter. If it is leaked, it will be a fatal disaster. Do you understand?" Yun Chujio stopped laughing. She said seriously. The people in the canteen were suddenly shocked. They felt that the little girl in front of them was really unpredictable. One moment she was naive and romantic, the next moment she became sly and clever, and now she became fierce and stern. "Oh right, the two who came with us are not reliable. There is no need to contact them," Yun Chujio added after thinking for a while. The two people had not suffered any hardships, so they must still be feeling lucky. Such people were not reliable. After discussing the details, they returned to the canteen. Due to the delay on the way back, they naturally received a scolding from the canteen manager. That afternoon, Yun Chujio recalled the old man as she lit the fire. Where had she seen him before? She had a photographic memory. If she had seen him before, she would remember him. Then she had seen someone who looked like him before. Images of people flashed through Yun Chujio's mind. Finally, Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. She remembered who the old man looked like. Ziheng. The potential stock she invested in was the spirit master Yen she had met in the Gui Yuan sect. Ziheng. Back then, Ziheng's mother, grandson, and aunt had never mentioned Ziheng's family. Could it be that the old man was Ziheng's grandfather? The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more likely it was. That old man was probably also spiritual master Yen. Otherwise, he would not have such a big reaction when he saw her. He must have calculated something. Then back then he shamelessly begged for food at the entrance of the mine. Could it be that he had calculated that he would meet her here? Yun Chujio was slightly excited. Although spiritual master Yen was not as abnormal as Ironmouth, he could still predict the basic luck, misfortune and fortune. Since the old man dared to come in, it meant that their operation this time would be very smooth. In the next 2 days, the few people in the canteen began to work in tandem. Although the miners worked until late at night every day, they still had 6 hours of rest time, so they used this time to communicate with each other. These people had been suppressed to the extreme like dry firewood. As long as there was a tiny bit of flame, it would ignite. Who would still want to die when there was hope for life? Therefore, in just 2 days, all the miners in the Spirit Stone mine agreed to Yun Chujio's plan. Only the old man and the strong man did not interact with the others, so no one informed them. Chapter 2380 was the start of the operation during dinner. Everything was as usual. However, those who paid attention would notice that some miners' hands were slightly trembling, and some people's expressions were faintly showing excitement. The burly man seemed to be rough, but he was as meticulous as hair. He moved closer to the old man and was about to speak, but the old man shook his head. The burly man had no choice but to hold back his words. The few leaders gathered together to eat because their meals were all prepared separately by the small stove. Tonight's meal was exceptionally sumptuous. Everyone giggled and thanked the canteen manager. The canteen manager didn't pay attention to the dishes when he was preparing dinner. Now that he saw that the dishes were so sumptuous, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. These wastrels actually made so many delicious dishes. These were all his spirit stones. However, since they had already made them, he couldn't ask them to take them away. He could only grit his teeth and say, everyone has worked hard recently. This banquet is my treat." A few of the leaders laughed and exchanged a few pleasantries. One of them even took out a wine jug and said, "It's a pity that such a good meal doesn't match the wine. Come, drink less. It's fine." Everyone had not touched alcohol for a long time, so they did not object. Everyone began to eat and drink. When Yun Chujio brought the people from the canteen to the shed, the people inside were already drunk. They thought that it was because of the alcohol, but in reality, it was because of the netherworld in the food that had taken effect. Yun Chujio did not say anything. She gave them a look and everyone rushed forward to send them on their way. The people from the canteen did not expect things to go so smoothly. They killed all these people just like that? Why did it feel like a dream? Yun Chujio took off the storage rings of the leaders and found a few tokens from them. She handed them to them and said, "Follow the plan. Don't leave any guards alive. Don't touch the old man and the big man. They are not a hindrance to us." "Yes." Everyone split up and began to move. Yun Chujio and the other two led the remaining people straight to the mining area. Yun Chujio had already observed that the Fan family would only come to collect the ores once every month. Therefore, there was a large piece of empty land in the mining area that was filled with the mined spiritual stone ores. Although the spiritual stone ores were not finished products, they could be considered as spiritual stones in the market after a little processing. It could be said that the ores were money. Yun Chujio was well aware of the bad nature of people. There was a possibility that someone would take advantage of the chaos and take the spiritual stones for themselves. Then, the matter of the people defecting to the Chow family would be wasted. Therefore, Yun Chujio and the other two brought the people from the canteen to collect the spiritual stones and ores first. Of course, there were people guarding the spiritual stones and ores. However, because they felt that these miners did not have the courage to resist or steal the spiritual stones, they only arranged 5 people to guard the spiritual stones and ores. Among the 5 people, 3 of them had already rested and only 2 of them were yawning and chatting. Yun Chujio and the others took care of the 5 people without much effort. Yun Chujio put all the ores into her storage ring. "Everyone, don't worry. Once the obstacles are cleared, I will distribute the spiritual stones and ores equally to everyone. Otherwise, someone will be greedy and ruin our plan." Seeing that Yun Chujio had said so much, the people in the canteen naturally couldn't say anything more. At this time, the sounds of killing could be heard everywhere and everyone began to take action. There was almost no suspense about the process and the result. The number of miners here was more than 100 times that of the guards. In the past, they only dared not to resist because they were intimidated by the threat of the Fan family. But now, once they erupted, their destructive power was astonishing. In just over an hour, the miners had completely taken control of the Spirit Stone mine. Chapter 2381 moved away half of the mine. Yun Chujio gathered everyone together and divided the Spirit Stone mine equally according to what she said. Then she said, "Now you guys rush to the Chow family. You guys go first. I want to clean up the aftermath here and delay the time when the Fan family finds out." Everyone now wished they could immediately leave this killing den. After saying a few polite words, they all left. "Little Gio, if we don't run now, what are we going to do?" Jinji asked in confusion. Yun Chujio ignored her and shouted instead, "My 2 friends, you can come out now. They have all left." Jinji and Shui Wuji were stunned. Was this guy crazy? The little girl is indeed smart. No wonder she is not fated. The old man and the brawny man walked out. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Let's talk slowly. Let me get some compensation for the mental damage first. Yun Chujio handed the supreme-grade burst talisman in her storage ring to the other 4 people. Blow it up. Don't be afraid of wasting it. Blow up as many as you can. You can't be a fire-burning girl for nothing. The 4 people looked at the dozens of sacks of supreme-grade burst talismans on the ground. Was this what she meant by cleaning up the mess? Was this what she meant by cleaning up the mess? Was this what she meant by stirring up a hornet's nest? What are you waiting for? Hurry up. If I don't move half of the spirit stone mine today, my surname won't be Wong. Yun Chujio rolled up her sleeves and picked up a sack of super-grade burst amulets as she walked to the side and began to play tricks. Exploding the mine. The corners of Shui Wuji and Jin Ji's eyes twitched violently. Please, your surname wasn't Wong in the first place, okay? Although they weren't greedy, they would be fools if they didn't grasp such a good opportunity to make a fortune. Besides, that fellow actually dared to do this. He must have a way to escape. Thus, Shui Wuji and Jin Ji also picked up a few sacks of talismans and started to blow up the mine on the other side. Benefactor, what should we do? The brawny man asked the old man with a dumbfounded look. The old man's eyes twitched. Let's help together. I reckon that the little girl won't leave until we get more spirit ores. Thus, everyone began to frantically mine. The reason why the Fan family had been using manpower to mine was because if they used talismans to mine, the losses would be too great. However, Yun Chujio and the others did not care about this. With a sack of talismans they could blow up many large pieces of spirit stones. It was enough for manpower to mine for a year. Yun Chujio knew that such a huge commotion would easily attract the Fan family's people, so her operation was very rough and barbaric. She did not care about sustainable development, nor did she care about making the best use of everything. In any case, it was a business where she could just take a handful and leave. Why did she care so much? In less than an hour, almost half of the Fan family's mines had been stored into Yun Chujio's storage ring. This fellow waved his hand and said, "Stop, I'm not a greedy person. It's enough." The other 4 people only had one sentence in their hearts to say to her. Shameless. Aren't you greedy? You've emptied half of the Fan family's mines, aren't you greedy? Senior, what should we do next? Yun Chujio asked the old man with a smile. The old man was confused and pointed at himself. You're asking me? Of course. If it weren't for you here, would I dare to stay and make a fortune? Hurry up, which direction is safe for us to escape to? Yun Chujio thought to herself. With a talent like Spirit Master Yen, she wouldn't need him. Would she keep him as a decoration? The old man had no choice but to close his eyes and keep calculating with his fingers. Then he said, "We are going north. Only the north has a chance of survival." Chapter 2382. Zhang family head. The spirit stone mine was lost. Yun Chujio didn't waste any time and directly summoned the flying spirit tool. Everyone got on the flying spirit tool and flew towards the north. Of course, before Yun Chujio left, she also gave a big gift to the Fan family, which was that this guy poured rapeseed oil on the sheds and then lit them on fire. This guy was afraid that the fire was not big enough, so he got a lot of firewood from his storage ring and poured rapeseed oil on the ground to light them up. This guy even shook his head and said, "I took a little bit of the Fan family's ore and gave them a big fireworks display. That's all." Shui Wuji and the other 3 thought that the Fan family would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji finally understood why Yun Chujio let them take the disguise pill and why she made up 3 names so casually. It turned out that they were preparing for this moment. Moreover, those miners had gone to the Chow family. The Fan family would definitely blame the Chow family for this. The Chow family would naturally not admit to half of the mine. Then the Chow family and the Fan family would definitely fight to the death again, and she, the main culprit, would be safe and sound. 1 word could be used to describe it. Damaged. 2 words could be used to describe it. Really damaged. 3 words could be used to describe it. Too damaged. 15 minutes later, the members of the Fan family arrived at the mine. Although the Fan family was nearly 100 li away from the mine, they could still hear the faint sound of the explosion in the middle of the night. Bai Li and the other members of the Fan family were shocked. The head of the Fan family immediately sent people to contact the leaders of the mine, but they were shocked to find that the sound transmission talisman could not be sent out. This meant that something had happened to those people. The spirit stone mine was the support of the Fan family, so no one dared to neglect it. The important figures of the Fan family hurriedly flew to the mine on their flying spirit tools. On the way they saw the fire in the mine soaring into the sky. Their heads buzzed. Something must have happened. By the time the Fan family arrived, the fire had already spread. That was for sure. With the help of the rapeseed oil, it would be strange if the fire did not grow strong. A certain Jill was born to be a fire girl, so she knew best how to light a fire. The Fan family members quickly put out the fire. The Fan family had already prepared for the worst, which was that the miners would escape with the ores that had already been mined. However, they felt that it was still bearable. After all, those people wouldn't be able to escape from their grasp. Once they were captured, the spirit stone mine would naturally be found. As for the destroyed sheds and the dead guards, it did not matter. As long as there was a spirit stone mine, there would be an endless supply of spirit stones. They would just have to rebuild or recruit more guards. However, when the fire was extinguished, the leader of the Fan family's guards almost crawled in front of the head of the Fan family. Family head, something has happened. The head of the Fan family wished he could kick him away. Wasn't this nonsense? If nothing happened, why would they come here in the middle of the night? The leader of the guards finally managed to reorganize his words. Family head, the spirit stone mine has been lost. This is already within my expectations. The mined ores will naturally be stolen by the miners. You are the leader of the guards. How can you be so useless in the face of such a situation? The head of the Fan family said unhappily. The head of the guards was about to cry. Family head, it's not the mined ores, it's the mine. Half of the mine has been stolen. Nonsense. How can a perfectly fine mine be stolen? Could it be that the mine has legs? A young master of the Fan family scoffed. The head of the Fan family also frowned. He felt that this was impossible, but when he thought of the explosion he heard earlier, he immediately had a bad feeling. Chapter 2383. Godlike assistance. The head of the Fan family kicked away the head of the guards and quickly leaped toward the mining area. Almost half of the mine was gone, and the ground was full of shattered spirit stones and mineral powder. The spirit stones and mineral powder alone were worth tens of millions of high-grade spirit stones. The head of the Fan family felt a stuffy feeling in his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. The members of the Fan family immediately became chaotic and rushed to rescue the head of the Fan family. The head of the Fan family was only in a moment of anger. He quickly regained consciousness. He did not care about his identity and almost howled, "Bring those damn miners back immediately. We must get the ores back. Grandfather, these spiritual stone mines should have been blown up by someone using talismans. Moreover, it seems that the power of the talismans is not small. It is impossible for those miners to have so many high-level talismans. I guess it is not that simple." Fan Mingchuan checked the scene and said, "If Yun Chujio knew that Fan Mingchuan said so, she would probably reward him with a big chicken leg. What a smartass." The head of the Fan family nodded. What Mingchuan said makes sense. There might be the Chao family's handiwork here. That old man Chao Menghai has been eyeing our spiritual stone mines like a tiger eyeing its prey. On one hand, search for the traces of those miners. On the other hand, pay attention to the actions of the Chao family. On the other side, a certain Jio was busy running away. This fellow had never felt that the storage ring was so full. Other than the spirit stone mine, there was also the spirit stone mine. It was not in vain for her to be a burning servant for a few days. Ever since he got on the flying spirit tool, that old man had wanted to find an opportunity to speak to Yun Chujio. However, a certain Jio had always been in a state of excitement. She kept chattering and he did not have the chance to speak at all. Even if the old man managed to interject, he would immediately be led astray by Yun Chujio. He did not have the chance to say what he wanted to say at all. A faint light flashed in Yun Chujio's eyes. Little fellow, before they escaped safely, she would not let the old man find out what she wanted to know from her. Yun Chujio took out the map and looked at it. The Xingtian Academy was in the northeast direction of the Fan family. This did not conflict with their current escape route. They only needed to escape a certain distance before heading east. Yun Chujio was very confident. Spirit Master Yen was not a joke. If he said that it was safe to run north, then it was definitely safe. Just as Yun Chujio was bubbling with beauty, Shui Wuji cried out in alarm, "There's someone blocking the way ahead. I wonder if it's someone from the Fan family. What should we do?" Yun Chujio looked through the observation window and saw a few black spots in the distance. She could vaguely make out that they were several flying spirit tools. Yun Chujio frowned. They were probably a subsidiary force of the Fan family. After they received the notice, they had stopped and checked. Since the Fan family had sent people to stop them, they probably had relevant information sent to them. The three of them were easy to fool. However, this old man and the strong man had probably been on the list for a long time, so they could be easily discovered. "Old man, didn't you say that the north is safe? What should we do now? The recognition of the two of you is too high. You will definitely be recognized," Yun Chujio said to the old man. The old man's face stiffened. He clearly said that there was a chance of survival, okay? How did it become foolproof in her mouth? "Little girl, I just have a question to ask you. As long as you tell me the answer, the two of us will immediately leave on the flying spirit tool and help you distract those people," the old man said sincerely. "Pooey. What you said sounded nice. Those people are not fools. Can't they see that this is a diversion? This way, our situation will be even more dangerous. You must think of a way to let us leave safely. Otherwise, I will not answer your question." Yun Chujio twisted her neck, she curled her lips and said. Chapter 2384 was a great bargain. The old man's face was a little unnatural. He didn't mean it that way, but what the little girl said made sense. He could only close his eyes and start to calculate. After a while, the old man opened his eyes. His face was a little pale. Apparently, this calculation had consumed a lot of spirit energy and physical strength. "Little girl, it's really difficult for us to get through this place safely unless we take a detour by water. By Li to the east is the Qinlong River. It's said that there are many high-level aquatic demon beasts inside, and they are prohibited from flying. We can't even use talismans. By water? Anyway, I have a boat, so let's take the water. The demon beasts are much cuter than the Fan family." Yun Chujio waved her claws and signaled Shui Wuji to fly in the direction of the Qinlong River. Although the people on the flying spirit tools in the distance had already seen Yun Chujio's flying spirit tools from afar, they didn't care too much when they saw that they had changed their direction. Anyway, there were people intercepting them on the ground and in the sky. If they were the people that the Fan family wanted to capture, they wouldn't be able to escape. After a quarter of an hour, Yun Chujio and the others landed on the bank of the Qinlong River. No one had set up an ambush here. This was because the people nearby knew that flying was prohibited near the Qinlong River. They could only fly by taking a detour. Yun Chujio looked up and saw that the surface of the Qinlong River was very wide. Moreover, it was moving in the east-west direction. They only needed to follow the current down and get out of the Fan family's sphere of influence before going ashore. Then they could take a detour back to Xingtian Academy. However, when she swept her gaze across the three big words, Qinlong River, on the stone tablet that was erected at the side, her heart was filled with anger. Her mother's name was Yilon, but this river was called Qinlong River. It was really fucking unlucky. When Yun Chujio thought of this, she kicked the stone tablet. Yun Chujio thought that the stone tablet must be very strong, so she used all her strength. Unexpectedly, this stone tablet might have been older than time. When Yun Chujio kicked it, the stone tablet was immediately knocked over. A certain Jiu who was miserable almost fell to the ground because she used too much strength. Shui Wuji and the others almost laughed out loud. Was this guy crazy? Why did he kick the stone tablet for no reason? A certain Jiu felt very embarrassed. She took out her large kitchen knife and started to cut the stone tablet. Alright, this guy already subconsciously thought that the large kitchen knife could cut anything. A cut was made on the stone tablet. Just as Yun Chujio was about to continue cutting, she realized that the center of the stone tablet was actually hollow. There seemed to be something hidden inside. Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. This fortune could not be blocked even if it came. Could it be that there was a treasure map inside? Yun Chujio carefully cut the stone tablet in half and saw a beautiful jade box inside. Yun Chujio was extremely excited. The box was so beautiful. There must be a treasure map or some good treasure inside. This guy excitedly opened the jade box and could not help but be disappointed when he saw what was inside. It was not a treasure map but a water-repellent bead. The old man exclaimed, "Oh my God! It's the legendary water-repellent bead. Little girl, you've gotten a great deal." Yun Chujio forced a smile, thinking that she had plenty of this damn thing. Moreover, this one was white and she had a red one in her hand. Even the water-repellent bead in Shui Wuji and Jinji's hands was much bigger than this one, so the two could only pretend to be surprised and agree at the side. The two thought to themselves, not everyone can pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. They clearly have something good in their hands, but they can't show it off. It's really painful. Chapter 2385 was indeed related to Ziheng. Under the envious gazes of the old man and the burly man, Yun Chujio casually put the jade box into her storage ring. This guy rolled his eyes and put the stone tablet that was about to break into his storage ring so that no one would discover it. Then he summoned a large ship and called everyone onto it. After getting on the ship, Jinji asked Yun Chujio in a low voice, "Why did you destroy that stone tablet?" "The name of Qinlan River is not good. I got angry just by looking at it, so I kicked it away," Yun Chujio said indifferently. Jinji reacted for a long time before she understood the reason why Yun Chujio did not like Qinlan River. The corner of her mouth could not help but twitch. Qinlan River had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. How old was Yilan? This guy was simply venting his anger. Shui Wuji and the big man took turns to operate the spiritual boat in the cockpit. The old man then asked Yun Chujio, "Little girl, can you answer my question now? Although it's not safe yet, I see that you're quite anxious." "Then you ask and I'll try my best to answer you," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Although the old man had always been calm and composed, it seemed that after meeting this little girl, he could not remain calm. Every word this guy said made him so angry that he stared at her. The old man calmed his mind and then asked, "Little girl, how did you find out that I'm a spirit master Yen? Have you met someone who looks like me before?" "The first question is meaningless. I will directly answer your second question. I once saved a young man. He should be 16 or 17 this year. His appearance is 70% similar to yours. He is a spirit master Yen." Although the old man had already guessed a little, he was still trembling with excitement. Then where is he? Is he okay?" "He shouldn't be a big problem at the moment, but you also know that you spirit masters Yen have seen through the heavenly secrets and will naturally be punished. His spiritual sense is unstable. Although I gave him some pills to temporarily control it, I'm afraid that he won't be able to live for long." "Where is he?" "I have a way to save him. I'll go and save him," the old man said anxiously. "Who are you to him?" "He's my man. I have to be responsible for him." Yun Chujio looked at the old man vigilantly. The old man was stunned at first, then he looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously. He gritted his teeth and said, "Are you two engaged or married?" "Granddaughter-in-law, I am your grandfather." Jinji almost burst out laughing at the side. Yun Chujio's face stiffened. "What granddaughter-in-law? He is just my subordinate. You are his grandfather? Make a poison oath first and say that you will never harm me or your grandson. Only then will I tell you where he is." The old man rubbed his hands awkwardly and then made a poison vow. He could not wait to continue asking, "Little girl, I've already made a poison vow. Quickly tell me where he is." "His name is Ziheng and he's currently in the Temple of Immortals on the Tianyuan continent. His and his mother's lives were saved by me. Don't you want to express your gratitude?" Yun Chujio looked at the old man with a smile. The old man really wanted to roar at her. "You have already emptied half of the Fan clan's spirit stone mine. What more do you want to express? You are so greedy, be careful of being struck by lightning." Just as the old man was about to give Yun Chujio some benefits, he heard Yun Chujio say with a smile, "Old man, I am joking with you. When you go to look for Ziheng in the future, you can also help me to tell him that I am safe." The old man nodded, thinking that it was not so easy to go to the Tianyuan continent. He had to plan carefully. At this moment the strong man in the cockpit ran up. "Benefactor. Not good. It seems that a high-level aquatic demon beast is coming from afar." Yun Chujio and the others arrived on the deck and saw a water line rapidly approaching from afar. Judging from the dorsal fin that was exposed above the water surface, the demon beast must be very huge. "I'll go down and take a look." You guys wait for my news, Yun Chujio said and jumped into the water. The old man and the brawny man were confused. Was this little girl crazy? Wasn't she going to die? On the boat they still had some advantages. After all, there were many people. If she went into the water, wouldn't she be sending herself to her death? Jinji was also a bit worried, but she knew that Yun Chujio had always been good at dealing with demon beasts. Perhaps she could have an unexpected effect. He would wait and see. After Yun Chujio jumped into the water, she activated the water repellent bead and swam toward the direction of the water beast like a small fish. When she was close enough, she could see clearly that it was a level 40 bloodthirsty finless porpoise, which was equivalent to a human cultivator at the 6th layer of the spiritual void tier. It was on par with the fire-eating Shio that Yun Chujio had encountered previously. If she were to fight it head-on, Yun Chujio would naturally not be able to defeat this behemoth. Moreover, this fellow did not intend to fight it head-on. The old man, Spirit Master Yen, had said that there were many high-level water beasts in the Qinlan River. It was just right to find an escort to avoid trouble during the voyage in the future. This bloodthirsty finless porpoise's grade was just right. Yun Chujio took out a long white cloth from her storage ring and waved it in her hand. Master Finless Porpoise, don't do anything yet. I'm here to die. The bloodthirsty finless porpoise had swam over to try something new because it had discovered that a boat was approaching. After all, the reputation of the Qinlan River was notorious. Almost no humans would come near it. However, when it saw Yun Chujio and the white cloth in her hand, it was still a little dumbfounded. Were the humans nowadays so enlightened? They actually took the initiative to jump down and give it to eat? It was said that humans were the most insidious race. There must be something wrong with her taking the initiative. Either she was used as bait and there were powerful people waiting to catch it, or she was already poisoned. As long as it ate her, it would die. The bloodthirsty finless porpoise instantly came up with a lot of conspiracies and tricks. When it looked at the white strip of cloth in Yun Chujio's hands, it felt like it was a life-threatening rope. The more it thought about it, the more scared it became. It simply turned around and ran away. Yun Chujio, this fellow instantly had a sense of confusion. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Come on, shouldn't she be the one who turned around and ran away? Could it be that this white cloth had a deterrent effect on aquatic demon beasts? She had never heard of it. Yun Chujio was still planning to let this bloodthirsty finless porpoise be her guard. Hence, she waved the white cloth from behind and shouted loudly, "Lord Finless Porpoise, don't go. I'm really here to die. Listen to me." When the bloodthirsty finless porpoise heard Yun Chujio's shout, it instantly swam even faster. It was abnormal, too abnormal. There must be a conspiracy. She had never heard of humans wanting to die so much, and the thing in her hand must be some spirit tool. No immortal tool, it was too terrifying. How could Yun Chujio be faster than the bloodthirsty porpoise? She watched helplessly as the bloodthirsty porpoise disappeared from her sight. Yun Chujio put away the white cloth strip with a dumbfounded look on her face. Then she floated to the surface of the water and boarded the big boat. The old man, Jinji, and the others found that the demonic beast was swimming away quickly. They couldn't help but be very puzzled. After seeing Yun Chujio, they asked in puzzlement, "What happened? Why did that demonic beast run away?" Yun Chujio spread her hands helplessly. "I also want to know. I just said something and it turned around and ran away. Do I look so scary to the beast?" Yun Chujio immediately recounted what had happened. Even if the old man was a spirit master Yen, he still couldn't come up with a reason. Perhaps that bloodthirsty finless porpoise had something urgent and changed its mind? It seemed that only this explanation could make sense. That bloodthirsty porpoise was a level 40 aquatic demon beast. It couldn't possibly be afraid of a little girl at the 3rd level of the Lingxian realm, right? What Yun Chujio didn't know was that on the way the bloodthirsty finless porpoise escaped, it encountered some aquatic demon beasts. When those aquatic demon beasts saw that the bloodthirsty finless porpoise was running for its life, they couldn't help but panic. Could it be that there were some high-level demon beasts chasing after it? Thus they all followed it and ran. When the bloodthirsty finless porpoise saw that those demon beasts were also running for their lives, it was even more certain that the human little girl wasn't simple. Otherwise, why would these demon beasts also run for their lives? It had to be said that this was a wonderful misunderstanding. For 2 days in a row, Yun Chujio and the others did not encounter even a low-level demon beast, let alone a high-level aquatic demon beast. It was as if the Qinlan River had turned into an empty river in an instant. Yun Chujio looked at the old man with a look of disdain. Didn't you say that there are many high-level aquatic demon beasts in the Qinlan River? Why is there nothing except for that bloodthirsty finless porpoise that is not in good spirits? The old man was also very puzzled. Did something happen to the aquatic demon beasts in the Qinlan River? Were they all extinct? This situation did not change until they left the territory of the bloodthirsty finless porpoise. Some low-level aquatic demon beasts began to appear. However, these low-level aquatic demon beasts felt the pressure released by the crowd and did not dare to go forward to harass them until a water line swam over from afar. The old man exclaimed, "Do you see the flashing electric arcs? It's the bloodthirsty electric eel. This is bad." The bloodthirsty electric eel is the most troublesome aquatic demon beast in the Qinlan River. It can discharge electricity and has a fierce temperament. Before the old man could finish his words, he heard a thump. A certain Jiao had already jumped into the water impatiently and dived into the water in the blink of an eye. The old man was so anxious that he stomped his feet. Nonsense. What nonsense? That's the bloodthirsty electric eel. Isn't she going to die? Jinji did not make a sound. That fellow loved lightning the most. If the bloodthirsty electric eel met her, it was not necessarily someone who was unlucky. The reason why Yun Chujio could not wait was to test the power of the white cloth strips. Although this fellow also felt that it was a little unbelievable, he had to have a dream. What if it came true? Therefore, the fellow went into the water and began to wave the white cloth strip at the bloodthirsty electric eel that was swimming over in the distance. He shouted, "Master Electric Eel, don't do anything yet. I'm here to die." The bloodthirsty electric eel saw the white cloth strip in Yun Chujio's hand and then heard Yun Chujio's shout. It was also confused. Was this little girl sick? However, the bloodthirsty electric eel was obviously more courageous than the bloodthirsty finless porpoise. It felt that it could shoot electric arcs, so it was fearless. It looked at Yun Chujio with disdain and shot an electric arc at Yun Chujio. So the white cloth strip was not working. It seemed that the bloodthirsty dolphin was really mentally ill. Yun Chujio's mind was only thinking about the white cloth strip, so she did not dodge at all. She was hit by the electric arc. The bloodthirsty electric eel saw this, and the disdain in its eyes became even more intense. It seemed that this little girl was really mentally ill. She did not even know how to dodge. If this electric arc were to go down, she would be electrocuted and faint. At that time, it would be able to satisfy its craving. It had not eaten a human for a long time. "108 ways of eating humans" flashed through the mind of the electric eel. Then it was stunned to find that the little girl in front of it was still alive and well, muttering, "Is this white cloth strip really useless? Why don't we try again?" "Hey, little Loach, do you see the white cloth strip in my hand? This is the famous spirit summoning banner. If you don't want to die, quickly establish a temporary contract with me." Yun Chujio waved the white cloth strip at the electric eel, she said arrogantly. Although the bloodthirsty electric eel was a level 40 aquatic demon beast, Yun Chujio was really not afraid of it because the biggest attack method of the bloodthirsty electric eel was the electric arc. This was just a joke to Yun Chujio. How could the electric arc of the bloodthirsty electric eel be as powerful as the heavenly thunder? If you have the ability, why don't you try firing the electric arc for 10 hours? How could the bloodthirsty electric eel know that the guy in front of it was a pervert? It was angered by Yun Chujio's words and fired another electric arc at Yun Chujio. It originally thought that this electric arc would definitely stun the stupid girl in front of it. However, the ideal was plump, but the reality was bony. This electric arc did not stun the little girl. Instead, it made her even more arrogant. "Hey little Loach, have you not eaten? How dare you call yourself an electric eel?" Yun Chujio had one hand on her waist and the other hand was waving the white cloth strip. The bloodthirsty electric eel had never been provoked and ridiculed like this. Even the higher-level demon beasts did not dare to provoke it. Today it was ridiculed by a weak human chicken. One could imagine how angry it was. Therefore, the bloodthirsty electric eel seemed to have gone crazy and desperately fired electric arcs at Yun Chujio. "Oh my, this small electric current is so comfortable to hit my body. It's like a spring breeze. Come again. Little Loach, it's not that I want to criticize you, but how did you survive in the Chinlon River with such a weak chicken like you? How did a trash like you not get eaten by other demon beast? Are they all vegetarians? Come on. Continue to electrocute me. Anyway, we have a lot of time. Let's have fun together. If the bloodthirsty electric eel could spit out blood, it would probably have already emptied its blood slot. It was too fucking an air beast. In a moment of anger, the bloodthirsty electric eel started to discharge electricity desperately. This fellow was also blinded by anger. He should have been more careful. In the end, not only did the electricity run out, but it also used up too much of its spiritual power and directly turned white. Jinji, the old man, and the others were watching nervously on the deck. They saw the electric arcs in the distance flashing non-stop. The old man kept muttering, "It's over. It's over. This little girl is really impulsive." The old man had the intention to go down and save her, but he and the brawny man both had fire spirit roots. It would be useless even if he went down. The old man was very dissatisfied with Jinji and Xuewuji. These two young men and the little girl seemed to have a good relationship. Why were they standing there in a daze and didn't know how to save her? Jinji didn't know what the old man was thinking. She even comforted the old man. "Don't worry, little Jia will be fine." Just as the old man was about to refute Jinji, he heard the big man next to him cry out in surprise, "Benefactor, look! The bloodthirsty electric eel has turned white." The old man looked up and saw a huge bloodthirsty electric eel floating on the water with its white belly. There was a splash of water beside it and a little girl poked her head out. Who else could it be but Yun Chujio? Yun Chujio saw that the bloodthirsty electric eel had used up too much of its spiritual power and fainted. She could not help but twitch her lips. No matter how smart this demon beast was, it was still a little bit inferior to a human. Naturally, this guy would not let go of such a great opportunity. He forcibly established a temporary contract with the bloodthirsty electric eel. Although the bloodthirsty electric eel fainted, its spiritual sense was still clear. When it realized that Yun Chujio wanted to establish a temporary contract with it, it refused in its heart. It was a magnificent level 40 aquatic demon beast, but it actually established a temporary contract with a level 3 Ling Xian chicken. Wouldn't it make the beast laugh its head off? Unfortunately, no matter how unwilling it was, it could only let Yun Chujio establish a temporary contract with it. Fortunately, what Yun Chujio established with it was only a temporary contract. If Yun Chujio were to forcefully establish a master pet contract with it, the bloodthirsty electric eel would rather fight to the death than reject it. After a moment, the contract was completed. Yun Chujio ignored the bloodthirsty electric eel and swam towards the direction of the big ship happily. The old man's face was stiff. Contract? Contract with a level 40 electric eel just like that? How was this possible? After Yun Chujio jumped onto the ship, she said with a smile, "This is good. We have the little Loach to escort us. The journey will be much smoother." The old man opened his mouth and finally said, How did it faint?" It probably liked the white cloth strip and kept firing electricity at it. Finally, when the electricity was gone, it fainted. Maybe it has been single for many years and felt that the white cloth strip fit the image of its dream lover? Yun Chujio took out the white cloth strip and waved it a few times. The bloodthirsty electric eel, which had just woken up, turned white again. It really did not want to wake up again. It did not want to face that pervert again and did not want to face the cruel world. The corner of the old man's mouth twitched. No wonder he could not calculate the fate of this little girl. It turned out that she was a little pervert who did not follow common sense. Although the bloodthirsty electric eel did not want to wake up, but Yun Chujio was on the deck. "Little Loach, if you do not wake up, I will tie a white cloth strip on your tail." The electric eel was forced to wake up by the little devil. "Little Loach, you don't have to worry. If you escort us to our destination, I will cancel the temporary contract with you. Although we have established a temporary contract, I am the kindest person. I will not use you for nothing. When the time comes, I will reward you with some pills to stop bleeding." The bloodthirsty electric eel reluctantly agreed, cursing in its heart. She was kind. If she was kind, it would really marry a white cloth strip. With the escort of the bloodthirsty electric eel, the next voyage was very smooth. "Little girl, we can go ashore in front. This place has far exceeded the influence of the Fan family. There will be no more trouble. The old man could not wait to find a way to go to the Tianyuan continent. Thus, these 2 days he was burning with anxiety. Old man, although Ziheng is my subordinate, he is similar to my younger brother. Therefore I have some suggestions to tell you. You also discovered that the 3 of us have disguised ourselves. Now we have already recovered our original looks. Even if the Fan family stands in front of us, they wouldn't be able to recognize us. However, the 2 of you are too easy to recognize. Although you have already left the Fan family's sphere of influence, there is no guarantee that they have spies here, therefore you cannot leave just like that. On one hand, Yun Chujie was sincerely looking out for the old man. On the other hand, she was afraid that the Fan family would follow the clues and find trouble with her. The old man nodded. What you said makes sense. Do you have a way to hide it? Although Yun Chujie had a disguise pill, there were only a few left. She was reluctant to give it to the old man. Moreover, the disguise pill only had the effect of 10 days. It could only treat the symptoms but not the root cause. Yun Chujie smiled at the big man. The big man's heart trembled for some reason, and an ominous premonition rose in his heart. This uncle is too recognizable, so he needs to change his appearance. I suggest that you shave your beard. This is more effective than taking any disguise pill. Old man, your hair and beard are all white. You dyed your hair and beard black. Moreover, from now on, in front of outsiders, this uncle will be the master and you will be his butler. This way, your relationship will be misplaced with the Fan family, and they will no longer doubt your identity. Although this might be a little unfair to old man, but it's better to be careful. Your grandson is still waiting for you to save him. Yun Chujie said slyly. The big man shook his head repeatedly. How can this be? How can my benefactor pretend to be my servant? However, the old man waved his hand. What the little girl said makes sense. The Fan family's strength is not to be underestimated. It's better to be careful. Let's do as she says. The old man said to Yun Chujie again, Little girl, you saved my grandson. I can't thank you enough. When I find my grandson, I will definitely repay you heavily in the future. Old man, you are too polite. Helping the strong and supporting the weak. When you see injustice on the road, you will roar and help others. This is what a kind person like me should do. When you see the wife of the temple master of the Temple of Immortals, just help me to tell her that I am safe. Yun Chujie said as she handed a storage ring to the old man. The corner of the old man's mouth twitched. After interacting with her for the past few days, he also knew that Yun Chujie was a temperamental person. He could only say, Don't worry, I will definitely pass on the message. The crowd chatted for a while more before Yun Chujie sent the old man and the big man to the shore, while the big ship continued to sail forward. Yun Chujie was a shrewd person. She wasn't afraid of anything but just in case. It was better to sail forward for another day and a half, and then take the flying spirit tool. In this way, even if something happened to the old man, he wouldn't be able to trace it back to her. This was also the reason why she didn't ask the old man to bring gifts for the palace master's wife and the others. After another half a day, Yun Chujie finally let the big boat dock. Little Loach, our temporary contract has been cancelled. This is a pill for you. See you later. Alright, this white cloth strip is also for you. Go home and be a wife. Then there was no then, because the bloodthirsty electric eel was once again angered to the point of turning white. I guess it is too happy. Let's go. Yun Chujie said to Shui Wuji and Jinji. Jinji turned her head and looked at the bloodthirsty electric eel with sympathy. This poor thing had been angered dozens of times along the way. It could only blame itself for not having eyes. The bloodthirsty finless porpoise from before was smarter. Although Yun Chujie and the other 2 had recovered their original looks, Yun Chujie still dressed them up just in case. After dressing up, even the people from the mine wouldn't be able to recognize them. Even the people from the Heaven Punisher Academy wouldn't be able to recognize them if they didn't look carefully. 2 days later, they were only 2,000 miles away from the Heaven Punisher Academy. Little Gio, how are we going to explain this matter after we return to the Heaven Punisher Academy? Jinji asked. They were originally trapped in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit, but now that they suddenly appeared, they naturally had to give an explanation. That's easy to do. Just push the pot onto the teleportation jade token. In any case, this was an accident, so they won't be able to find anything. However, we have to find a suitable place to appear. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and said. Yun Chujio felt that it would be best if they were teleported to a place with few people around. This way, no one would accuse them of lying and the Fan family would not be suspicious in the future. A place with few people around? Yun Chujio thought of a place, and that was the place where she found the fire-eating shio last time. However, last time she had cheated the fire-eating shio of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. If she were to accidentally meet the fire-eating shio, it would not be good. Therefore, she could not go to this place. Yun Chujio could not think of any ideas at the moment, so she kicked the pebble on the ground out of boredom. Suddenly the guy's eyes lit up. Yun Chujio took out the pebble that Tian Dao Cliff had given her. Little Tian Tian, can you bring the three of us to your place? Yun Chujio was also desperate. She did not expect that the pebble would really react. Humph. Humans are so troublesome. You have your own legs, why do you need me to bring you back? Tian Dao Cliff said impatiently. Cut the crap. It must be because you don't have such great abilities, so you're making excuses. If that's the case, we can just walk back by ourselves. Yun Chujio felt that Tian Dao Cliff was like a donkey. He was leading the group that was retreating. As expected, the Heavenly Dao Cliff said disdainfully, what's so difficult about that? I'm just afraid that Wu Yun will come and find fault with us. If Wu Yun comes and finds fault with us, I'll help you carry him, alright? In any case, I can't wait to be struck by lightning. Seeing that Yun Chujio had already said so much, the Heavenly Dao Cliff could only agree. Yun Chujio and the other two quickly removed the makeup on their faces and changed into the uniforms of the Heaven Punisher Academy. Only then did they land in a secret location. A golden light flashed and the three people who were originally on the ground disappeared. When the three of them regained their sight, they were already on the flat ground opposite the Heavenly Dao Cliff. Yun Chujio naturally praised the Heavenly Dao Cliff. The Heavenly Dao Cliff was praised so much that it almost floated up. The dissatisfaction in their hearts was long forgotten. Yun Chujio had just comforted the Heavenly Dao Cliff when a lot of people rushed over from afar. They had all seen the golden light flickering on the Heavenly Dao Cliff, so they had rushed over after hearing the news. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. 1, 2, 3, pretend to be unconscious. After saying that, the fellow lay on the ground and began to straighten his corpse. Shui Wuji and Jinji had no choice but to imitate Yun Chujio and lay on the ground, pretending to be unconscious. As for why he was lying on the ground instead of lying down, the reason was very simple. This way he wouldn't be exposed. When Dean Gongsun and the others arrived, they saw 3 students lying on the ground. They couldn't help but be puzzled. What was going on? At this moment, a certain Jiao slowly woke up. She turned around and sat up. She looked at the crowd in a daze before jumping up. She hugged Shui Wuji and Jinji, who had just woken up, and jumped up and down. We're out. We're out. Ha. Even though Shui Wuji and Jinji felt like they were crying in their hearts, they could only play along with a certain Jiao. Dean Gongsun and the others were naturally shocked. It was actually Yun Chujio and the other two? Weren't they trapped in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit? Why were they here? Yun Chujio, what's going on? Weren't you all trapped in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit? Headmaster, teachers, after we activated the Jade Medallion, we realized that there was no reaction. We really had no way out. We started to look for the exit and waited for the academy to rescue us. However, as time passed, we were a little disheartened. We thought that we would be trapped in there for the rest of our lives. Unexpectedly, just as we were in despair, I heard the voice of an old man. He said something about being an idiot. I couldn't hear him clearly, and then we didn't know anything. Shui Wuji and Jinji nodded their heads in agreement, but they were cursing in their hearts. Little Jiao had already bravely advanced on the path of fraud and would never return. As expected, when everyone heard Yun Chujio's words, they began to discuss animatedly. I heard that when Yun Chujio came back from the coffin, everyone heard an old man say, "Idiot, why aren't you waking up?" This time it was probably Tian Dao who saved them. What you said makes sense. Without the teleportation formation, the godly axe and Tian King wouldn't have been able to come out. Other than Tian Dao's help, they wouldn't have been able to come out. In that case, this Yun Chujio is really Tian Dao's favorite. A certain Jiu didn't show it on the surface, but he was very pleased in his heart. The Tian King incident this time was really a blessing in disguise. Not only did he make a huge fortune, but he also strengthened the title of Tian Dao's favorite. It was really killing two birds with one stone. Dean Gongsun asked for more details. A certain Jiu, who was the best at making up lies, naturally replied fluently. From time to time she would describe the miserable situation of the three of them, such as disappointment, fear, worry, and so on. After asking these questions, Dean Gongsun felt very guilty. If it weren't for the academy's inadequate security work, these three students wouldn't have suffered such a hardship. Alright, you should go back to the dormitory and rest first. We will officially start tomorrow, Dean Gongsun said to the three of them. The three of them nodded. After bowing, they left the Heavenly Dao Cliff. Along the way, they met some first-year students who came over to ask about their well-being. Some of them even cried in excitement. Yun Chujio acted pretentiously and comforted the three of them. It wasn't easy for the three of them to return to the dormitory. It was only at this moment that the three of them finally felt relieved. After today's incident, even if the Fan family had obtained some clues, they would not think of the three of them. It was perfect. Yun Chujio was initially worried that Tian Dao would find trouble with Tian Dao Cliff. However, there was nothing unusual, so she put this matter aside. The next day, Yun Chujio and the other two left the dormitory and walked towards the classroom. They thought that they would continue with yesterday's popularity and that there would be many people paying attention to them. However, they did not expect that their gossipy hearts would be occupied by another matter. Have you heard? I heard from my uncle's sister-in-law's eldest cousin's nephew that the Fan family, which is also the super aristocratic family, the Fan family, and the other super aristocratic family, the Chao family, are fighting. Really? What's the reason? Although I heard that the Chao family and the Fan family are sworn enemies, they have been peaceful for so many years. Why would they suddenly fight? I heard that the Chao family not only turned the Fan family's miners, but also stole half of the Fan family's spirit stone mine. Of course, the Fan family can't take this lying down. Oh my god. Half of the spirit stone mine? How many spirit stones did they get? The Chao family is really powerful. How did they do it? I don't know. The Chao family refused to admit that they took the Fan family's spiritual stone mine. Of course, if I were the Chao family, I wouldn't admit it either. Isn't that an excuse for the Fan family to attack them? While Yun Chujio was listening with great interest, Li Huan came over and said, Miss Yun, you might not know about this since you just came back. I know the details. Let me tell you in detail. Okay, tell me about it. I want to broaden my horizons too. Yun Chujio said with a curious look. Li Huan did not know that the person in front of him was the thief who stole the spiritual stone mine. He told Yun Chujio the rumors vividly. Yun Chujio asked a few questions from time to time, and occasionally she would make a surprised sound. Xue Wuji and Jin Ji looked at each other. They were so shameless that they only had one word: respect. Li Huan saw that Yun Chujio was listening with great interest. The story was even more exaggerated. Miss Yun, I also heard that the Chao family used high-grade talismans to blow up a spirit stone mine. My goodness, I reckon that only a level 12 hurricane explosive talisman would have such an effect. Instead, it would require at least 100 of them. Therefore, this matter was definitely done by the Chao family. How could other small families have so many hurricane explosive talismans? In my opinion, this Fan family and the Chao family have become sworn enemies. Of course, the two families also had their own conflicts, but now it has only intensified. Yun Chujio echoed a few words from the side, thinking nonsense. I clearly don't have a level 12 hurricane burst talisman, but I still did it. Because I used thousands of superior grade burst talismans. Do you have any objections? Bite me. This guy was high in his heart for a while, then he pretended to say, according to what you said, the Chao family did it. Teske, let's just watch the super family's business. It has nothing to do with us anyway. Jin Ji and Xue Wuji nodded at the side. Well, it has nothing to do with you because you can't wait for them to fight. Li Huan didn't know that there were some twists and turns. He nodded and bowed in agreement. With Xu Jingtai's death he had no backer. After thinking about it he felt that this Yun Chuju was more reliable. Although her spiritual power was low, she was the daughter of the Yi family. Although she was not in tune, she was the favorite of Tian Dao. Therefore he decided to cling on to Yun Chujia's thigh and not let go. They chatted and laughed along the way and soon arrived at the star class classroom. Yun Chujio scanned the classroom and realized that there were dozens of people missing. Li Huan quickly said, "Miss Yun, you might not know this, but after they came out from the heavenly pit of the divine axe, that Zhai Shanshan, Shi Luoxiao and the others twisted the truth. After the academy found out the truth, they were directly expelled." Yun Chujio nodded. He was not surprised. The reason why Dean Gongsun did this was firstly to enforce the school rules and secondly, it was probably to give the Yi family an explanation. When Mo Fongbing saw Yun Chujio, her heart was very complicated. On one hand, Yun Chujio saved her in the heavenly pit, so she was naturally happy to see Yun Chujio come back alive. On the other hand, if the great elder found out that Yun Chujio was still alive, he would definitely scold her. Therefore she was somewhat unhappy about Yun Chujio's return. Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered with her little thoughts. She sat lazily in her seat and waited for Teacher Dong to arrive. Not long after, Teacher Dong walked in from outside the door. Teacher Dong glanced at the crowd, then his gaze swept past Yun Chujio and the other two and began to lecture. At the end of the lecture, Teacher Dong coughed a little, then he said, "Although some students have low spiritual power, they are still worthy of praise for being able to save their classmates at a critical moment. I hope that some students still need to raise their spiritual power as soon as possible. After all, the strong are the most respected in the immortal Yuan continent." After Teacher Dong finished speaking, he left in a hurry. When he left the podium, he almost tripped over himself and looked like he was about to run away. Yun Chujio could not help but laugh. Teacher Dong's words were naturally directed at the three of them. He had to admit that this Teacher Dong was a little awkward. Because he was cute. Teacher Dong's words reminded Yun Chujio that since she planned to go to the Primordial Chaos sect to participate in the entrance test in a year's time, her current spiritual power was definitely not enough. It seemed that she needed to formulate a detailed learning plan. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she heard Xue Wuji say, "Little sister Jiu, I might be about to break through." After Xue Wuji finished speaking, he sat cross-legged on the podium and began to break through. Although everyone was a little surprised when they thought about how Xue Wuji was only at the first level of the Lingxian realm, it was normal for him to break through. It was just that the place he chose to break through was a little hindrance. Before Yun Chujio could react, she heard Jin Ji say from the side, "Little Jiu, I seem to be about to break through too." After Jin Ji finished speaking, she also went to the podium and sat cross-legged, starting to break through. Everyone's discussion became louder. They did not expect that the two of them would actually break through at the same time. However, this was also normal. After all, when a person was about to break through, it would attract an extremely weak trace of heavenly secrets. This way the people next to them might have the opportunity to break through as well. When Teacher Du, who was teaching the beast taming class, walked into the classroom, he found two students sitting cross-legged on the podium. Although this kind of thing was relatively rare, it was still something that could be seen occasionally, so he was not too surprised. Teacher Du walked to the other side of the podium and began to lecture. The first grade beast taming class was about the characteristics and weaknesses of some demon beasts. Yun Chujio listened with great interest because knowing more about demon beasts was beneficial for her to better fool the beasts in the future. Halfway through Teacher Du's class, Xue Wuji's body burst out with a dazzling light. Everyone knew that he had succeeded in breaking through. Sure enough, after the light disappeared, Xue Wuji's spiritual power level changed to the second layer of the Lingxian realm. However, Xue Wuji did not open his eyes. Everyone thought that he was stabilizing his realm. At this moment, Xue Wuji's body actually emitted a dazzling light again. Everyone cried out in surprise. Could it be that he had broken through again? It couldn't be. After the light dissipated, Xue Wuji's spiritual power level had changed to the third layer of the Lingxian realm. However, Xue Wuji still did not open his eyes and continued to maintain his meditative posture. Everyone was dumbfounded. Could it be that he could continue to break through? Before Xue Wuji could break through again, everyone discovered that Jin Ji's body next to him flickered with a dazzling light. If one looked closely, there were even strands of golden light within. After the light dissipated, everyone saw that the level of the spiritual power on Jinji's body began to soar. She was at the second level of the spiritual profound realm, the third level of the spiritual profound realm, and only stopped when she reached the fifth level of the spiritual profound realm. Everyone's mouths could not close. Oh God, what kind of monster was this? She had actually risen 4 levels in a row? At this moment, Shui Wuji's body shone with light again. His spiritual power level had broken through to the 4th level of the spiritual profound realm, but he still did not open his eyes. Everyone could not help but hold their breaths. Could it be that Shui Wuji could continue to break through? After another half an hour, Shui Wuji's body flashed with light again. This time the light was even more dazzling. When the light dissipated, Shui Wuji's spiritual power level began to soar. 5th level of the Lingxian realm, 6th level of the Lingxian realm. It only stopped when he reached the 7th level of the Lingxian realm. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Her companions had all leveled up. Was it not good that she was so weak? Hence this fellow cried out, I am about to break through too. Everyone's eyes gathered on Yun Chujio. They saw her sitting cross-legged on the podium, pretending to meditate for a while. Then the spiritual power in her body began to surge. 4th level of the spiritual profound realm, 5th level of the spiritual profound realm. It did not stop until she reached the 6th level of the spiritual profound realm. The reason this fellow chose the 6th level of the spiritual profound realm was because she had a straight flush from the 5th, 6th, and 7th level. Well, actually, this fellow was already used to pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, and did not hide 2 levels of strength. She felt that it was not in line with her principles in doing things. A certain Jiu was a very principled person. The classroom of the 1st grade star class was eerily quiet. Each and every one of them had a big mouth. They felt that they had received a critical blow. Their worldview had received a serious blow. Didn't they say that cultivation should be done step by step? Didn't they say that each level required time and effort to break through? Then how could they explain the 3 perverts in front of them? One had risen 3 levels, one had risen 4 levels, and one had risen 6 levels in an instant. It was simply unbearable. They were like pregnant women who were pregnant for 10 months. These 3 perverts were amazing. They were like an old hen laying eggs. PFFT one, PFFT another one. It was simply too easy, wasn't it? Originally, these 3 pervert spiritual power levels were at the bottom of the class of stars. But now Shui Wuji had suddenly become the one with the highest spiritual power. Even Jinji had reached the intermediate level, and this was only the duration of 1 class. Not to mention the students, even Teacher Du was stunned. This was too unbelievable, wasn't it? Soon, the news of Yun Chujio and the other 2 breaking through spread throughout Xingtian Academy. Someone guessed, the 3 of them might have had some good fortune in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have broken through so many levels right after returning. What you said makes sense. If they were talented, why didn't they break through before? Seems like they really got a good fortune in the Divine Axe Heavenly Pit. This is really a blessing in disguise. This is a blessing in disguise for good people. It's probably a blessing from God. The 3 of them saved hundreds of people. The 3 people who were being discussed by the crowd arrived at the law enforcement office. Yun Chujio said to a teacher of the law enforcement office with a smile, "Teacher, I'm looking for Teacher Pang for an important matter. Can you help me pass the message?" The teacher smiled and agreed. He walked to a room inside and asked a few questions. Then he said to Yun Chujio and the other 2, "Teacher Pang asked you to come in." After Yun Chujio and the other 2 entered the room, they saw Teacher Pang sitting behind a desk, dealing with official business. "Why are you looking for me?" Teacher Pang raised his head and asked. Yun Chujio giggled. "Teacher Pang, do you still remember what you promised me in the entrance exam? Let me give you a reminder, the Night Pearl." Teacher Pang was stunned at first, then he laughed out loud. "You little girl, you're really a money grubber." Although there were mistakes in the entrance exam this time, the students who ranked higher still had rewards. "What? You collected a lot of shell fragments of the Heaven Punisher Divine Axe?" Yun Chujio raised her head proudly. "Of course. I've collected all the stone egg fragments that Shuemo is hiding in. There are at least a few hundred of them." Oh? If that's the case, then leave it to me. I will register it. The outer shell fragments that the others had collected had already been handed over to the law enforcement department. They had already finished registering it. Yun Chujio nodded. She sent her spiritual sense into the storage ring. Then the fellow's expression changed. Damn it! Where are my fragments? Why are my fragments missing? Yun Chujio searched every corner of the storage ring. He could not find a single thing. Those fragments had strangely disappeared. Yun Chujio immediately thought of the heaven and earth furnace that had a criminal record. She used her spiritual sense to inquire about it. Although the heaven and earth furnace couldn't speak, the emotions it conveyed were very aggrieved. It meant that it hadn't eaten any shit fragments. Chapter 2396 Go? Yun Chujio was so angry that she was about to faint. Fuck, could it be that there was a ghost? Why did the fragment suddenly disappear? Could it be that after Shueimo hid, the fragment had changed? It had already turned into powder? Teacher Pang smiled. He did not taunt Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio, it seems that you can only get the luminous pearl if you get first place in the next test. However, don't worry. Although you didn't get the fragment, you saved the first-year students this time. You won't be expelled. One could imagine the grievance in Yun Chujio's heart. Originally she was in the top 3, but now she was in the bottom 3. Moreover, they had to be punished by the law to be able to stay in Xingtian Academy. Yun Chujio came with her head held high, but when she left, she became listless. No one knew the inside story, so they thought that Yun Chujio had done something wrong again and was dealt with by the law enforcement department. As for why it was again, cough cough, it was because a certain Jio had too many priors. How did it disappear? What the hell? Yun Chujio mumbled as she walked. Shui Wuji and Jinji were also puzzled. That's right, why did the fragment suddenly disappear? Just as the three of them were walking towards the dormitory, they suddenly realized that the sky had turned dark. It was noon, so there was no reason for the sky to be so dark. Yun Chujio raised her head and saw a large patch of dark clouds floating towards the Xingtian Academy. Wu Yun and Jinji were stunned. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that they were going to split the Heavenly Dao Cliff? Logically speaking, Wu Yun should have come yesterday. Why did he only come today? Could it be that there was a traffic jam in the sky as well? Or could it be that there was also something like the Double 11 in the sky and the express delivery had exploded? This fellow's imagination was running wild. However, he was running towards the Heavenly Dao Cliff. As he ran, he turned his head and said to Shui Wuji and Jinji, "You guys go back to the dormitory first. We'll go to the Heavenly Dao Cliff to take a look." Shui Wuji and Jinji knew that they could not help in this situation. If they went, they would be a burden to Yun Chujio, so they could only instruct Yun Chujio to be careful. Yun Chujio ran all the way and soon arrived at the Heavenly Dao Cliff. When the Heavenly Dao Cliff saw Yun Chujio coming, he said snappily, "At least you have a conscience. This Wu Yun is definitely here to strike me. Blocking this heavenly lightning will waste a lot of my golden light. Little Tian, don't worry. When the Wu Yun arrives, just let it strike me. When I can't take it anymore, you can attack it again." When that time comes, Wu Yun will already be at the end of its tether. You can torture it to death. When the Heavenly Dao Cliff heard Yun Chujio's words, he recalled the incident from the last time. That piece of Wu Yun was indeed extremely angered by it, and his mood could not help but feel much better. As the man and the cliff were talking, the sky turned even darker. The thick layer of clouds released a tremendous pressure, and the students quickly found a place to hide. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to even breathe. Dean Gongsun and the others gathered together and raised their heads to look at the sky. They were all puzzled. Wu Yun was clearly heading toward the cliff of Heaven Dao. Why had the Tian Dao been struck by lightning recently? Yun Chujio looked up and saw that the Wu Yun this time was not the same Wu Yun from last time. Could it be that Wu Yun from last time had been angered to death? However, the newcomer was easier to fool. She could just use this opportunity to break through. Who knows, she might be able to break through to Lingshu in one go. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the happier she became. She said to the Heavenly Dao Cliff with curved brows, "Hurry up and bring me to the bottom of the valley. Otherwise, I will be easily discovered by others." After Tian Dao Cliff got Yun Chujio to the bottom of the valley, Yun Chujio got Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu out as usual. The three perverts sat in a row, waiting to be struck by lightning. Chapter 2397 was fuming with anger. Wu Yun slowly gathered into a large dark cloud. Just as he was about to split the heavenly Tao cliff, he was stunned. That's not right. When he came, he said he would split the heavenly Tao cliff. Why was there another target below? That little girl had a heavenly lightning spirit root, right? Logically speaking, she should have been killed long ago. Why did he let her live to such an age? Then the question came. As the most loyal and powerful protector of Tian Dao, should she kill the little girl with the heavenly thunder spirit root? Wu Yun was clearly in a dilemma. Which one should she kill? Just as Wu Yun was wandering around, a bird call came from below. Wawa, you shameless coquettish slut. You actually dared to use such a noble color like black. Did I allow you to use it? Only someone of my noble bloodline is worthy of the noble black color. Wu Yun looked down and saw that the one who spoke was an ugly bird that was black and fat like a ball. That ugly bird had a short wing on its waist and a short wing pointing at the sky while it was jumping around and cursing. Wu Yun did not hesitate to split Xiao Hanyo or the cliff of heavenly Tao. A bolt of heavenly lightning struck towards the little black bird. Wu Yun felt that the little black bird would turn into a roasted chicken if a bolt of heavenly lightning struck it. However, the heavenly lightning had just struck it. Xiao Hanyo continued to curse. You shameless Wu Yun, you struck me before I could finish my words. Don't you know what manners are? Wu Yun was furious. You stupid bird, you called me a flirtatious bitch, you called me shameless, and I can't attack you? The result of Wu Yun's anger was that he attacked Xiao Hanyo one after another. Xiao Hanyo scolded him and the hatred points were raised. Yun Chuju was very gratified. She had to say that Xiao He had not improved in other aspects, but his eloquence was getting better and better. Xiao Mogu had always been a bad person. It did not know how to curse, so it secretly began to cut off Wu Yun's beard. After all, every time Wu Yun struck down more than a dozen bolts of lightning, it did not matter how many bolts it cut off. Wu Yun struck out 13 times, thinking that the ugly bird had been chopped into pieces. Unfortunately, the thunder stopped. Immediately the ugly bird burped and said, "Hey. I'm full. I'm going back to sleep. See you later." Wu Yun watched Xiao Hanyo disappear on the spot. Then the little girl with the heavenly thunder spirit root said faintly, "Sigh. If it wasn't for my harsh words, wouldn't Wu Yun do the survival of the fittest? You're such a weak piece of trash. Don't come out and embarrass yourself. It really makes people laugh." Weak piece of trash? Trash? Wu Yun originally thought that such words were unrelated to him. He didn't expect it to be used to describe him. It was infuriating. Boom, boom, boom. A certain Jiao who had successfully attracted hatred began to be struck by lightning in satisfaction. She was addicted to being struck by lightning. Every once in a while, if she was not struck by a few streaks of lightning, her entire body would feel uncomfortable. It was as if she had not eaten meat for several days. Wu Yun felt that she was about to collapse. She had struck mighty figures and high-level demon beasts before, but she had never encountered such a situation where she could not be struck to death. Why was there such a pervert in the world? Why? 2 hours, 4 hours, a total of 6 hours had passed. Other than a few deep pits on the ground, that pervert was completely fine. He had even taken the time to roast a few spirit potatoes to eat. Dean Gong's son and the others were nervously watching in the courtyard. Someone suddenly exclaimed, "Heavens! Look, why is Wu Yun smoking?" You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.